Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Medical Ninja, I have Samsara Eye at the beginning. Chapter 21. The two of them were very busy, and the two of them were very busy. Mr. Mito, it's time to eat. Jingyi, who was temporarily conscripted, is still confused. What on earth did Uzumaki Mito want me to do? It's not like he's just asking me to cook a meal, right? Jingyi. Kushina jumped up in surprise, and Naoki, who was rubbing his ears and grinning, was also curious. There haven't been guests at home for a long time, and the most surprising thing is that this guest is Kushina's friend. Naoki couldn't figure out how Jingyi became friends with Kushina. After all, the age difference between the two is a bit big. Are you happy? Uzumaki Mito smiled kindly. Kushina nodded excitedly. Yeah, Grandma Mito is the best. I have wanted to invite Jingyi to come as a guest for a long time, but I was afraid that Grandma Mito would be unhappy. Silly child. Uzumaki Mito hugged Kushina tightly. Seeing Kushina being treated as a treasure by her grandmother, Naoki began to feel jealous. Jingyi, let me tell you, I met a few new friends at school, and there was a little yellow-haired boy who also wanted to be friends with me, but I ignored him. At the dinner table, Kushina chattered about school and even mentioned a little yellow-haired boy. Don't talk nonsense. Tsunade gave Kushina a slap on the head. Others are little yellow-haired boys, so what are you, Tsunade's sister, like? At first, Tsunade was also curious about who the so-called little yellow-haired boy was. After knowing what little yellow-haired meant, she was very angry and wanted to kick Jingyi 1 or 2 times. According to what you said, I, Tsunade, am the old yellow-haired boy. Hee, Sister Tsunade, it's still Sister Tsunade. Kushina smiled mischievously. As time went by, Kushina, who gradually integrated into this family, gradually became cheerful, and her face smiled more often than before. Uzumaki Mito was very relieved. This proved that her choice was right, and Jingyi did not disappoint her, although Jingyi taught Kushina to be a irritable little loli. Uzumaki Mito didn't think there was anything wrong. Girls, what's wrong with being a little irritable when they were young? She had a bad temper when she was young, and so did Tsunade. With the two of them walking in front, Kushina's little violence was nothing. The Senju ancestral home was very lively, and so was the Hokage's office. Shimura Danzo, Utane Kaharu, Mito Kato and others came, but Akamichi Tofu, who didn't like to get involved in things, was still hiding at home and being lazy. The three of them stared at the third Hokage in unison, and their intentions were self-evident. The third Hokage was not impatient and continued to handle official business. Hiruzen, Mito-sama, what does this mean? Do you want us to pay attention to Hyuga Shizuka? Uzumaki Mito's identity is too special and his status is too high. Every move he makes will have a great impact, just like inviting Shizuka to the Senju ancestral house. This move directly made the F4 group sit still. Tsunade and Uzumaki Mito just recognized Shizuka. That's fine, just treat him as half of their own people, don't pay attention to him, and won't target him. Now it's good, everyone has gone to the Senju ancestral house. Is this sending some kind of signal? The third Hokage was also uncomfortable being stared at all the time. Facing the questioning of Utane Kaharu, he could only put down the documents in his hand, pick up the pipe, light it, and take a few puffs of smoke. Kaharu, let's not jump to conclusions. I believe that Lady Mito is not an impulsive person. She will definitely give us an explanation. Sarutobi, you are the Hokage of the village. As a Hokage, why do you have to watch this out of control happen? What is Uzumaki Mito? What unique identity? The authority of the Hokage is the greatest. If he becomes the Hokage, he will never allow this to happen. After being beaten, Shimura Danzo began to have many dissatisfactions with Uzumaki Mito. Good guy. Are you Danzo eating gunpowder? You dare to say such words. The third-generation Hokage closed his eyes helplessly, and Utane Kaharu was the most direct. He rolled his eyes at Shimura Danzo on the spot and turned his head away in disgust, saying that he didn't want to talk to Shimura Danzo, and it was uncomfortable to look at you for a second. Mito Kato-en could only shake his head. He would not take the initiative to help the third-generation Hokage to reprimand Shimura Danzo, nor would he take the initiative to speak well of Shimura Danzo. Enough. Shimura Danzo was unwilling to give in. The third Hokage interrupted him with a roar. it is precisely because I am the Hokage that I believe in Mito-sama. Danzo, do you have nothing else in your mind except ambition? What do you mean? You said I have no brains. Shimura Danzo was stunned for a moment, his angry face. Slowly it became gloomy. On the surface, besides her own strength, Uzumaki Mito's only identity is the wife of the first Hokage. What is the reality? When the daimyo of the Land of Fire sees Uzumaki Mito, they will quickly run over to pay their respects first, while others are legitimate relatives. Why did the daimyo confer Tsunade as the princess of Konoha? In addition to pleasing the big boss, Hashirama Senju, it is because of the kinship relationship of marriage. To put it bluntly, as long as Uzumaki Mito expresses dissatisfaction with the third Hokage, the daimyo's mansion can immediately strangle the third Hokage. What does it feel like to be strangled by the daimyo? The future Sand Village is the best proof. Tighten your belt to live. Although the Land of Fire is rich, the taxes are from the daimyo's mansion, and have nothing to do with Konoha. It is impossible for Konoha to be self-sufficient. Without the support of the daimyo's mansion, Konoha will definitely have a hard time. It's not easy to just be stuck. If they throw all kinds of tasks to other villages, Konoha's finances will definitely collapse. Don't doubt that the daimyo can do such a thing. He dares to do such a thing because the development of the village cannot be separated from the daimyo's full support. Otherwise, Konoha would not need the daimyo's support to change the Hokage. Sarutobi, what do you mean? The third generation Hokage frowned and said, Danzo, you are tired, go back and rest first. I will put the position of Hokage assistant on hold first. When you figure it out, come and see me. Becoming the Hokage assistant of the third generation Hokage is basically a vacant position player, and the power in his hands is not even as good as that of the members of the elders. But the elders will not accept an ambitious person like Danzo. The third generation Hokage will not easily give power to Shimura Danzo, which leads to Shimura Danzo's low presence in the F4 group. Sarutobi Hiruzen, you want to take my position? Shimura Danzo angrily slammed the desk. Don't forget, without my help and my efforts, you can't sit in this position safely. The third Hokage smoked a cigarette and looked at the furious Shimura Danzo without saying a word. Without the support of power, the so-called ambition is actually an empty talk. It is because Shimura Danzo's ambition is too big that the third Hokage will sideline him and make him, the Hokage's assistant, become an empty shell. Now it's good, even the empty shell is gone. You just let him do whatever he wants. The elders have the right to stop some wrong decisions of the Hokage. Shimura Danzo placed his hopes on Udatane Kaharu and Mito Minen. Because the elders are centered on the two of them. Unfortunately, Mito Minen has never been involved in such things. The two sides have been in a mess. Udatane Kaharu was already so angry that she didn't want to talk to Shimura Danzo, so she wouldn't speak for him, and her inner thoughts were similar to those of the third Hokage. Shimura Danzo is becoming more and more lawless, and he should be allowed to rest for a while and calm down. Otherwise, once today's events get to Uzumaki Mito's ears, it will be a lot of fun. Good, very good. No one spoke for him, and Shimura Danzo felt like a clown jumping up and down. After glaring at Udatane Kaharu and Mito Kato-en with angry eyes, Shimura Danzo turned and left the Hokage's office. Looking at the back of Shimura Danzo leaving, Udatane Kaharu said with some concern. Danzo won't do anything radical, right? No, he is an ambitious man, he won't mess around at the critical moment, otherwise he will never get everyone's trust. The third Hokage shook his head. If it were someone else, he would have to worry about whether the other party would get angry and try to drag everyone down with him, so that they would die together. If I don't live well, you can't live well either. But Shimura Danzo won't. In order to realize his ambitions, Shimura Danzo knows how to be patient. What about today's matter? Do I need to report to Lord Mito? I will go to meet Lord Mito in person later. No matter whether the news will reach Mito Uzumaki's ears, the third Hokage must clarify his position and attitude, even if it is a show, Mito Uzumaki must see the result. He took a deep puff of smoke and put down the pipe in his hand. The third Hokage stood up and looked out the window. Since Lord Mito values Hyuga Shizuichi, I might as well go and help him a little. Okay, Udatane Kaharu and Mito Kato-en knew what the third Hokage meant. He was going to visit the Hyuga clan and completely resolve the issue between the Hyuga clan and Shizuichi. After Yutain Kaharu and Mito Kato-en left, the third Hokage brought people to the Hyuga clan and talked with the Hyuga clan leader in the main family courtyard for a while. Shizuichi would never have thought that Shimura Danzo's impulsiveness and reckless words indirectly helped him a lot. Otherwise, he would definitely treat Shimura Danzo to a good meal as a reward. Come over more often when you have nothing to do. The house is deserted and it will be lively with more people. When Shizuichi left, Uzumaki Mito suddenly said this. In the face of Uzumaki Mito's invitation, Shizuichi politely agreed and said that he would come often in the future. It's finally over. Leaving the Senju ancestral house, Jingyi exhaled heavily. Although Uzumaki Mito is a kind old man and has expressed goodwill to Jingyi, Jingyi is still an outsider. It is better to stay out of such occasions. As for Uzumaki Mito's invitation, just agree to it, but don't take it seriously. Don't run to the Senju ancestral house for no reason. Elderly people all hope that their children can accompany them. After understanding Uzumaki Mito's intention, Jingyi decided to refuse to let Tsunade eat for free in the future and let her go home to accompany Uzumaki Mito. It solved the loneliness problem of the elderly and saved a lot of living expenses. Tsunade, this girl, opened her mouth and asked for several servings, which was really scary. The most annoying thing is that others can't get fat, and the food they eat grows where it should grow. If it gets out, countless women will be envious. It's night. After finishing a day's work, the third Hokage came to the Senju ancestral house. Uzumaki Mito had been waiting for a long time. Mito-sama. After the third Hokage saluted and greeted, he reported to Uzumaki Mito what happened in the Hokage's office truthfully, without any partiality or intention to speak for Shimura Danzo. Uzumaki Mito listened quietly, and after a moment of silence, he sighed. Since you think Danzo needs a break, then let the position of Hokage assistant be vacant for a while. After speaking, Uzumaki Mito paused. Monkey, old woman, I'm old, maybe I can hold on for 2 years. As people get older, they want their children to be around. I think you can understand me, right? Just for this. The third Hokage mourned for Shimura Danzo for 3 seconds in his heart. Don't worry, Mito-sama, the Hokage office will always stand by you. Everyone thought that Uzumaki Mito was hinting at something. In the end, nothing happened. I just hope my granddaughter can come back to accompany me more often. It will be more lively with more people. As for Jingyi, it is just a byproduct. Shimura Group. It is a bit unfair that Danzo lost his empty position this time. At this moment, the third Hokage felt like laughing for some reason. Danzo, you were really wrong this time. But you can't blame others, because it's Danzo Shimura's fault. There is no impenetrable wall in the world. There are many ninjas from the Anbu guarding the Hokage's office. These people heard what Danzo Shimura said clearly. The third Hokage didn't dare to bet that these people from the Anbu would keep their mouths shut. Reporting this kind of thing in person is a small matter. If it is concealed, once it is discovered, it will be a big problem. So the third Hokage chose to take the empty position of Danzo Shimura, and then report to Mito Uzumaki to downplay the matter. Mito Uzumaki knew that Danzo Shimura spoke rudely to her, and she would not take it to heart, because she knew that Danzo Shimura was such a person. Besides, not taking it personally doesn't mean that Uzumaki Mito won't take the opportunity to step on Shimura Danzo. It can be predicted that before she dies, Shimura Danzo can't even get an empty position and can only stay at home. Uzumaki Mito has a huge impact on the village. Yutain Kaharu and Mito Kadoken can't even sleep well without getting accurate information. The two came to the Hokage's office early in the morning. The third Hokage briefly described what happened when he went to see Uzumaki Mito last night. After listening, Yutain Kaharu looked strange, and Mito Kadoken was serious, but this seriousness didn't last too long. After just a dozen seconds, he successfully laughed. That is to say, Danzo, this guy, is shooting himself in the foot this time. Almost. The third Hokage also wanted to laugh, but he held it back. Ha ha ha. Mito Kadoken burst into laughter. Yutain Kaharu was also in a dilemma. After laughing for a while, the third Hokage put away the smile on his face and said to the two of them seriously, there is no need to tell Danzo about what happened today. Mito-sama wants him to rest at home for a while. Before Uzumaki Mito died, Danzo was basically destined to stay at home idle. The third Hokage hopes that Udatane Kaharu and Mito Manen can take this matter seriously and never speak for Shimura Danzo to avoid embarrassing everyone. Don't worry, Hiruzen, we know the severity of the matter, and I believe he doesn't have the face to ask me. Udatane Kaharu is very dissatisfied with Shimura Danzo now. Not to mention that Shimura Danzo has no face to ask her, even if he comes, she will not help him. Only Mito Manen may come forward to help. Don't look at me. I dare not help with this matter. Danzo's brain is hot and he dares to say anything, but he has never thought about the consequences of offending Mito-sama. I agree that he should rest at home for a while. Seeing his two companions staring at him, Mito Kato immediately stated that he would not help. Of course, he did not dare to help in this way. Then let Danzo rest for a while. The third Hokage made the final decision on this matter. Tomorrow I will represent Mito-sama and go to the daimyo's mansion. The village's financial allocation should be increased. Uzumaki Mito is not a stingy person. The third Hokage did not take away Shimura Danzo's empty position in vain. He received the strong support of Uzumaki Mito and could go to the daimyo's mansion to ask for money. With the letter written by Uzumaki Mito himself, the daimyo will definitely give this face. Great. The development of the village requires money everywhere. For money, their F4 group has been worried a lot. Now, if we get rid of Shimura Danzo, we will get the support of Uzumaki Mito, and we can go to the daimyo's mansion to ask for money openly. For the third Hokage, this deal is really a good deal. If possible, he doesn't mind stepping on Shimura Danzo a few more times. Udatane Kaharu and Mito Kato sincerely thanked Shimura Danzo for his sacrifice. Without his sacrifice, how could the village ask the daimyo for money? His sacrifice must be worth it. After a period of time, Tsunade began to run to Shizuka's house for free meals less and less. After get off work every day, she ran home and tried to spend time with Uzumaki Mito. In order to make time, Tsunade even postponed many classes in the medical department. Shizuka stood at the door of her house, her hand holding the key, paused for a moment, then unlocked the door, pushed open the door, and walked into the house. As the door opened, the light in the living room became sufficient, and the face of the uninvited guest was also revealed. Jingyi closed the door casually, turned on the light, and said to the person sitting on the sofa, "Orochimaru, I think you can come when I'm home." "Sorry." Orochimaru stood up with a faint smile on his face and explained, "Because it's close to Jingyi's time to get off work, I came in directly. I hope there is no misunderstanding. This is the first batch of goods. The door-to-door service is good, but it's a bit strange to deliver it to your home without a word and sit on the sofa waiting. At least few people can accept that when they get home from get off work, they find that there is an uninvited guest who doesn't go through the front door." Picking up the scroll that Orochimaru put on the coffee table, Jingyi opened the scroll and checked it. It has to be said that Orochimaru's efficiency is very reliable. After counting the quantity and taking a look at the bill calculated by Orochimaru himself, Jingyi didn't calculate it in detail. In this regard, Orochimaru is still trustworthy. Taking out the seal scroll, Jingyi took out the same amount of money and motioned Orochimaru to count it. "Jingyi-kun, happy cooperation." Jingyi didn't count the bill, and Orochimaru didn't count the money to see if it was enough. It is said that in addition to talent and hard work, ninjas also need a lot of money and resources to grow up. This is absolutely true. Just a batch of materials cost Jingyi nearly 2 million taels, and the small treasury was almost empty. Fortunately, his salary is high enough. It can also cope with such consumption. The speed at which medical ninjas make money is not exaggerated. As long as you work hard and your medical skills are good enough, you will not worry about not making money. Goodbye. Jingyi did not politely stay Orochimaru. With fast efficiency and credibility, Jingyi is happy to cooperate with people like Orochimaru. Of course, it is limited to task cooperation. As for other aspects, forget it. He is worried that he will become the next experimental subject of Orochimaru. There is no doubt that this is something Orochimaru can do. This meant that Jingyi would not have a close relationship with Orochimaru, and the same was true for Jiraiya. He could not accept Jiraiya's weird hobbies. Now that the materials were in hand, the puppet production could begin. Dong dong dong. Jingyi's thoughts were interrupted. He stood up and opened the door. "Hi." Standing at the door, Rope Tree chuckled and greeted Jingyi. Rope Tree is a very outgoing person. Since he went to the Senju ancestral house last time, he has been running towards Jingyi. Jingyi leaned against the door frame and said with a smile. You didn't go home after school, and you left Kushina behind. Why did you come to me? If your sister knew, she would definitely beat you up. Humph, I'm not afraid of her. Anyway, Tsunade is not here, Rope Tree is very tough. When my sister is here, I'm afraid of being beaten, so I'm timid. When my sister is not here, I have to be tough. Okay, you're not afraid of her. Jingyi was directly amused. He opened the door and signaled Rope Tree to come in. If you have anything to say, just tell me. I will be more, today. Looking at Naoki running in like a thief, closing the doors and windows, and taking out a few magazine-like books from his school bag like offering treasures, Jingyi was stuck before he finished speaking. How is it? Very impressive. Naoki proudly raised the book in his hand. I secretly saved a lot of pocket money, and my sister didn't find out. I left school early today and bought them quietly. They are all the latest editions, Jiraiya's favorite. Jiraiya, who shared the same ideals, went out on a mission. So Naoki could only find Jingyi, his new friend, to show off his achievements. Looking at the girl wearing very little clothes on the cover, Jingyi's mouth twitched a few times. Children in the ninja world are usually more mature, and with the influence of a certain voyeur, Naoki's hobby is a bit coquettish. Whose child of what age would buy the emperor's uncle? What's outrageous is that he bought it. Jingyi slapped his forehead. The problem is, you bought these things for nothing except to satisfy your eyes, so why bother? It's not easy to save some pocket money under Tsunade's nose, but you ended up buying these things. I like this one the most, Xiao's is so cute, he. It's hard to imagine an 8-year-old child holding a few copies of the emperor's uncle and laughing so obscenely. Jingyi felt that his 3 views were shattered. Jiraiya has done a lot of harm to the boy. The old man was very happy. Pushing the book handed over by Rope Tree away, Jingyi turned and walked into the kitchen. He had to talk to Tsunade tomorrow, and he had to beat his brother as soon as possible. Seeing Jingyi ignoring him and going straight into the kitchen, Rope Tree was worried that he would go to complain, so he followed him. Jingyi, I treat you as a friend, you can't complain to my sister. After washing the rice, adding water, and putting it on the stove, Jingyi turned around and said, so what you mean is that I need to help you hide it? Of course, we are friends. Friends. How can you betray your friends? Rope Tree answered as a matter of course. Jingyi, friend, you are looking at the little uncle. Kid, don't you realize that the matter is serious? Taking out 2 potatoes from the cabinet, Jingyi peeled the potatoes and asked, Shungshu, do you really like reading these books? Of course, what man doesn't like it? Shungshu felt that he was right. Don't you like reading this kind of books, Jingyi? Or do you not like girls? Ahem. Jingyi, who was peeling potatoes, almost stabbed himself with a knife. This was a bit hurtful. Speechlessly putting down the knife and potatoes in his hand, Jingyi said to Shungshu seriously. Of course I like to read, but I won't read before I grow up. Also, my sexual orientation is normal, and I also like beautiful and cute girls. Why not read before I grow up? Is there a need to distinguish between ages when reading this thing? Shungshu felt a little strange. After all, Jiraiya would not instill such words in him. I will only take him along for a laugh. Jingyi spread his hands. Because before you grow up, it's useless to watch it. Think about it carefully. Jiraiya takes you to watch these things. He can go out for fun, but can you? Quote. Faced with Jingyi's question, the smile on Shungshu's face froze. He seemed to think that Jiraiya liked to go to certain places, and he couldn't go to those places, and if he wanted to go with him, he would be driven away by Jiraiya. So, it's not easy to save pocket money, especially under your sister's nose. Don't waste money on such useless things in the future. If you like to watch it, when you grow up, you will have plenty of time to watch it, and you won't be criticized by others, and you won't think you are neither good nor bad. Do you understand? Faced with Jingyi's teachings, Shungshu blinked blankly. Jingyi, you mean that I should save more money and watch it when I grow up, so that Jiraiya can go with me to help the beautiful big sister? Jingyi accidentally sprained his waist. Ah, yes, you are right. I am tired. You can be happy as long as you are not afraid of your sister beating you. Why does Jingyi's tone seem perfunctory? I can't figure it out. Forget it, I'll just read a book first. So, Jingyi in the kitchen kept hearing the obscene laughter coming from the living room, which made him sigh, what a sin. After dinner, Jingyi decisively drove away Shungshu, who didn't want to leave. This little brat, he doesn't learn good things, and his mind is full of tricks. Jingyi doesn't want to take the blame for teaching children bad things. It's better to give this blame to Jiraiya. After all, Shungshu likes these things, and he taught him. I hope my sister will work overtime today. When he got home, Shungshu carefully poked his head around, like a guilty thief, afraid that someone would find him. Great, no one. The yard was very quiet, and no sound came from the house. At this time, Uzumaki Mito should be teaching Kushina the unique sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. As for Tsunade, she was either working overtime or resting in the room. After confirming that there was no danger, Naoki walked into the yard boldly. Stop. Quote. It's over. Hearing the voice behind him, the smile on Naoki's face froze instantly, and his body was nailed firmly in place as if he was hit by a fixed body technique, motionless. Why do you come back now? Where have you been? Tsunade twisted Naoki's ear skillfully and said viciously. I warn you every morning to come back immediately after school and spend more time with grandma. What did you do? Naoki came back too late, and Tsunade would at most say a few words to him, but she wouldn't take it to heart. Children of 8 or 9 years old are playful. But when Naoki returned home, it seemed like he was doing. Thief, this is a bit problematic. After discovering this, Tsunade hid herself. She wanted to see what this sneaky boy Rope Tree was trying to do. Ah, it hurts. Sister, my ear is going to fall off. Rope Tree screamed in pain, hoping that her sister would show mercy. Tell me the truth, where did you go? Tsunade was unmoved, because she knew how much force she had used. This force would at most hurt Rope Tree for a while, and as for the ear being twisted off, it was completely bullshit. The sister beat her brother, which was completely due to the suppression of blood. Rope Tree decisively confessed. I went to Jing's house, ate at his house and came back, and didn't go anywhere else. Didn't you see that you have learned to find a place to eat? Tsunade let go of Rope Tree's ears. She believed that Rope Tree would not dare to lie to her. Besides, it was just a little late to come back. A small lesson would be enough, there was no need to make a big fuss. Too hateful, punish me again. Rope Tree covered his ears, with an expression of being angry but not saying anything. You still glared. Tsunade, who wanted to let Rope Tree go, saw her brother glaring at her, so she slapped him. Rope Tree, who was not prepared, used a wolf spear to drop the book hidden in his clothes on the ground. Tsunade had the habit of checking his homework in his school bag. In order to prevent being discovered, Rope Tree stuffed the uncle into his clothes and hid it. It was originally well hidden, but it fell out after Tsunade slapped it. Quote. What the hell? Tsunade looked down and her eyes gradually widened. It's over, my Ozawa, the book I just bought. No, the book is no longer important, I'm dead. Who will save me? Picking up the book on the ground and flipping through it twice, Tsunade tilted her head and spitted, then smiled coldly at Naoki. Do you confess on your own initiative, or get beaten first and then confess? I bought it with my pocket money, just bought it today. So you ran to Jing's house just to read this? No, Hyuga Shizuka also read this. Tsunade realized something was wrong as soon as she said it. Naoki scratched his head awkwardly and smiled awkwardly. He drove me away and told me that it's best for children not to read it and wait until they grow up to read it. Rare. Now it was Tsunade's turn to be surprised. Not only did Hyuga Shizuka not read it, but he also taught Naoki a lesson and even drove him away. In Tsunade's impression, only Orochimaru was not interested in these things, as for the others, they were basically the same. From the third Hokage to Jiraiya, and then to some male ninjas I know. Every one of them counted, and almost few of them could escape. Even if there were some who could run away, they would not teach their children earnestly like Jingyi, telling them not to watch these things. Sister Tsunade, what are you doing? Although Tsunade had beaten her brother many times, it was the first time she had seen Naoki standing with his school bag in the corner. It was embarrassing. Naoki's face was as red as a monkey's buttocks. He lowered his head guiltily and held his school bag high. The old man was very happy. It's okay. Tsunade put away the little uncle and waved to Kushina. Go to your room and rest. Your brother Rope Tree made a small mistake. I am teaching him. Kushina is still young, and she can't see these messy books. Otherwise, Rope Tree will be unlucky again, and even Tsunade will be punished. Oh, Kushina could only look at Rope Tree with sympathy, and didn't dare to help beg for mercy, so she went back to her room to rest obediently. After Kushina left, Uzumaki Mito's voice came from the living room. The child is disobedient, most of the time it's just an itch, just give him a beating. Being lustful is not a problem. The third generation Hokage is one of them, but being lustful does not prevent him from becoming a Hokage and a ninja hero in the ninja world. But it's not right for a child to have such a tendency before he grows up. It needs to be dealt with. Grandma, it's fine if you don't save me, but why do you add insult to injury? My sister didn't want to beat me, but now I'm dead. Naoki's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe that these were words from his grandmother's mouth. You kid is dead. After receiving the order from Uzumaki Mito, Tsunade laughed and tore the book into pieces, then rubbed her wrist and walked towards Naoki. Sister, don't, I was wrong, I don't dare. Naoki brother is so miserable. Kushina, who was hiding in the room, could only mourn for Rope Tree for 3 seconds while listening to the screams outside. Uzumaki Mito gave the order, and Tsunade did it herself. No one could save Rope Tree. Even if Hashirama Senju and Tobarama Senju were resurrected, they could only hide from Uzumaki Mito. Rope Tree was suffering, and Jingyi also began to process the materials and started making puppets. First, the bodies of the animals that could be moved by artillery were needed to remove the unnecessary parts, such as the internal organs. Orochimaru would not clean the internal organs on purpose, and these jobs needed to be done by Jingyi himself. Because the amount of materials was a bit large, Jingyi spent a lot of time, so when he went to work the next day, he looked like he had not woken up. There was a more important operation today, and Tsunade did not report to the medical department, but came directly to the hospital. Seeing Jingyi yawning, Tsunade, who was sitting with her legs crossed and drinking tea, looked him up and down. What, you couldn't sleep last night after reading the book that Shungshu bought? Quote ? What the hell? Raising her hands, Jingyi was about to stretch and was stunned for a moment. Did you find out about Shungshu buying books? I was thinking about whether I should tell you that it's not good for children to read these things. I caught that fool and beat him up. Speaking of this, Tsunade got angry. Shungshu got a good beating yesterday, and he limped to school today. Tsunade didn't even help him with treatment, just to teach him a lesson. It's time to beat him up. If you just saw it by accident out of curiosity, it's okay, but this kind of intentional reading. Jingyi didn't know how to express her feelings. Shungshu is only 8 years old. 8 years old. Is this what an 8-year-old child should do? I will keep Jiraiya away from him in the future. Tsunade's face was not very good either. Jiraiya is a fool. Not only is he lustful, but he also leads children astray. This fool wants Nawase to be his disciple. I can't imagine what Nawase will become if he really becomes his disciple. Nawase is already 8 years old, and the time for him to graduate from the ninja school is getting closer and closer. Tsunade has begun to consider finding him a qualified teacher. After Jiraiya knew about it, he kept recommending himself. Unfortunately, he was ignored by Tsunade. Jiraiya will be Nawase's teacher. Jingyi poured himself a glass of water. If Jiraiya has many problems in other aspects, then his ability to teach disciples is definitely top-notch. Although Orochimaru is not bad, it is better to stay away from people like Orochimaru if possible. Too extreme. It is completely a potential bomb. It is hard to say when it will explode and then fall into the arms of darkness. I think it's possible, so I plan to find Orochimaru and let him become Naoki's teacher. Naoki also has this idea. He admires Jingyi as a family member. Tsunade doesn't mind telling him these things, but she looked up in surprise before she finished speaking. What did you say? Jingyi put down his hand. The cup in the room, said seriously. I think Jiraiya should be a good teacher. As for Orochimaru, I personally don't agree. Why? Tsunade folded her hands and leaned back. She wanted to know why Jingyi had such an idea. Personally, I don't want to contact people like Orochimaru. Being with him feels like there is a venomous snake hiding in the dark staring at you. Of course, this is just my personal opinion. Naoki is your younger brother. Finding a teacher is something that you, the elder sister, have to decide. Orochimaru is a good teacher and dotes on Naoki, but Jingyi prefers Jiraiya. Even Jiraiya can teach bad children. At least except for the aspect of being naughty, Jiraiya's way of education is to guide his disciples to grow in a sunny and positive direction, while Orochimaru is a little hard to describe. Is it like contacting a venomous snake? Tsunade fell into deep thought. Because Jingyi is not the first person to say this, many people who have contacted Orochimaru have this feeling. Rope Tree usually likes to follow Jiraiya, but the person he admires is Orochimaru. That's why Tsunade has the idea of giving Rope Tree to Orochimaru. Instead of letting the village arrange a ninja team, give it directly to Orochimaru and become a separate disciple. Such a master-disciple relationship is more reliable. Aha! Did you steal last night? Seeing Jingyi yawning several times in a short while, Tsunade couldn't help but frown. There is an important operation waiting for them today. Can Jingyi be in this state? When treating patients, you can't joke. No. Jingyi shook his head and said, Orochimaru gave me the first batch of materials yesterday, so I processed it overnight. After processing it, it was late, so I didn't get enough sleep. It won't affect today's operation, don't worry. That's good. Since Jingyi promised that it would not affect today's operation, Tsunade said no more. Taking advantage of the fact that there were fewer patients in the morning, Jingyi took a short nap, and then his mental state improved. Simply staying up late would not make people so sleepy. For ninjas, staying up late is commonplace and nothing. Jingyi was so tired because he had to concentrate on processing materials. Jingyi was responsible for assisting Tsunade in today's operation. The operation went smoothly. From the moment she walked out of the operating room, Tsunade's slightly raised mouth corners were harder to suppress than AK. In Jingyi's words, with the salary in hand, Tsunade, with a bulging pocket, had the capital to start floating. As for how long this money can make Tsunade float, I'm afraid only God knows. Let's go to your house for dinner later. I'll go to the market to buy vegetables and see what kind of puppets you make. Tsunade, who was in a good mood, planned to advance some living expenses. Okay. Jing nodded in agreement. He just needed to use Tsunade to spread the news about the special puppet. It would be best if Tsunade took the initiative to come to his door. It's just a free meal, no big deal. The salary arrived, not to mention Tsunade was a little bit arrogant, even Jingyi was a little itchy. Of course, he would not go to the casino, but wanted to buy a batch of high-quality materials and parts for making puppets. Jingyi was not interested in being a big fat sheep second generation. Although there were few puppet ninjas in Konoha, there were formal channels for purchasing materials in the village. After get off work, Jingyi said to Tsunade, you go to the market to buy vegetables, I'll buy a batch of materials and parts, the materials I prepared are not enough, I need to buy another batch. Go, don't waste time, I have something important tonight. Tsunade waved her hand nonchalantly, urging Jingyi to go and come back quickly. As for what's important, you don't need to guess. Now that there's money in her pocket, she's itching to make money. Tsunade will never settle down unless she loses all the money in her pocket. Buy materials and go home to cook. After dinner, Tsunade lies on the sofa, curiously watching Jingyi who is busy. Take out various materials from the sealed scroll, including the corpse of an animal. A tiger that is more than 3 meters tall, not counting the tail that is more than 6 meters long, with such a huge body, if it were in the previous life, it would definitely make countless people shout that it has become a spirit. But in the ninja world, creatures of this size are nothing at all. There are many creatures in the ninja world that are as huge as hills. The space in the living room is limited, so Jingyi can only choose smaller materials to start making. As for those large ones, they can only wait until they rest and find an open place to make them. Otherwise, the corpse will be moved out and the house will collapse. Seeing Jingyi implanting various materials into the tiger's body, Tsunade, who was originally lying on the sofa, has sat up. She was very curious about why Jingyi made such a puppet. Puppet masters are not exclusive to the Sand Village. There are puppet ninjas in the 5 major ninja villages, but there are more in the Sand Village. But no matter which village the puppet ninjas come from, most of the puppets they make are human-shaped. Even if there are puppets in the shape of animals, they are rarely made from animal corpses. Most of them are directly assembled from parts. Therefore, the puppets made in this way are not beautiful. And the puppets made from corpses are even more difficult to describe. Puppet ninjas who do this are not popular. After all, no one likes to get together with people who play with corpses, except for the group of puppet ninjas in the Sand Village. Soon, all kinds of parts have been assembled, and several chakra threads are floating in Jingyi's hands. The corpse lying on the ground slowly stands up. The tiger, which was originally a corpse, stood up. Its body, which was more than 3 meters tall, was filled with considerable pressure. Unfortunately, its movements were very stiff. A failure. Tsunade lost interest after taking a look. For her, the puppet made by Jingyi was too much in pursuit of the form of a living creature, which directly led to the puppet becoming a failure. Without the various attack methods that ordinary puppets should have, what great use can such a puppet have? As a consumable, that would be too wasteful. Jingyi stood in front of the puppet thoughtfully, raised his hand and placed it on the puppet, closing his eyes and feeling something. What is this kid doing? Seeing Jingyi thinking and fiddling with the puppet, Tsunade couldn't understand why he was wasting his energy. This puppet was obviously useless. Either keep it as a souvenir, or dismantle it for recycling. If it is recycled, you can also get a tiger skin and some recyclable parts. People always have special feelings for their first work, and they are reluctant to give up even if it is a failure. Tsunade felt that she could understand Jingyi's feelings. She thought that Jingyi at this moment felt the same as when she first prepared a special medicine. You can study it slowly. I'll go back first. I have 2 classes tonight. After being left aside for a long time, Jingyi's mind was focused on the puppet, just like Orochimaru's concentration when doing experiments. Tsunade knew that it was redundant to stay here, so she just left early. Yeah, Jingyi responded casually. His eyes stayed on the puppet, and he didn't even turn around to say goodbye to Tsunade. Take it easy. Medical ninjutsu combined with super strength and physical skills have given you the strength to protect yourself, so there is no need to waste too much time on the puppet. Bang! Looking back at the closed door, Jingyi's mouth corners slightly raised. Is making puppets really a waste of time? Raise your hand and put your hand on the puppet. On the puppet. As the chakra entered the puppet's control core, the 2 gray eyes of the puppet, which originally needed chakra threads to control and had very stiff movements, suddenly lit up. The puppet was resurrected. This is the fundamental reason why Jingyi made puppets. The reincarnation eye can give life to puppets, so he does not need to make traditional puppets like those in the Sand Village. After the tiger puppet was given life, it moved flexibly in the living room like a living thing, and it was not a problem to do all kinds of tricky movements, but the floor's bearing capacity was a bit poor, and it kept making creaking sounds, and it might be stepped on at any time. Lie down. The puppet immediately lay down and stayed there honestly. For the sake of the floor at home, Jingyi felt that he should go outside the village to make puppets in the future. Although there are many hidden places in the village, the old 3rd Hokage would sit in the Hokage's office and look around with a crystal ball. Jingyi didn't want to expose the secret of the puppet at this time. Make another flying puppet, and then keep the remaining materials. Leave the village during holidays and find a hidden place outside the village to slowly make it. By the way, you can test the strength of the puppet. For a period of time, Jingyi put most of his energy on puppet making. Fortunately, he went to work normally every day and his work was not affected by the puppet. Time passed quickly and it was the end of the year. The lush Konoha was covered with snow, and people walking on the street wore thick cotton clothes. In the dark, Jingyi felt that the fetal movement of the reincarnation eye was coming, and it might start after the new year. However, this kind of weather is most suitable for lying at home and sealing yourself with a quilt. Ha! Jingyi yawned, holding the things bought from the market in his hand. Being caught early in the morning and running to the market to buy things was really annoying, but he was helpless to meet Tsunade, an unreasonable bandit. Kushina and Naoki would only shout a few times, but Tsunade was different. This female bandit would rush directly into the bedroom and lift the quilt. Back home, Jingyi began to direct Tsunade and Naoki, who wanted to be lazy, to work. The grill was set up. Tsunade was responsible for burning charcoal, Naoki and Kushina were responsible for running errands, and Jingyi was responsible for grilling. The marinated meat on the grill soon gave off the aroma of barbecue. As various seasonings were sprinkled, Tsunade, Kushina, and Naoki began to swallow their saliva. This barbecue smelled so good. After feeling that the fire was about right, Jingyi picked up the brush and started to apply oil. After waiting for a few minutes, he announced, "You can start eating." Before the words fell, Tsunade, who had been thirsty for a long time, picked up a fork and forked a large piece of meat and took a hard bite. "Ha, so fragrant, hiss, hot, if you don't become a medical ninja, you can open a barbecue restaurant and make a lot of money. I want one too." Shungshu followed suit, picked up a piece of meat with a fork and started to eat it, but he was burned so hard that his teeth were bared. "Kushina, don't learn from them, you're just starving." Jingyi picked up 2 pieces of beef, cut them into pieces, put them on a plate, and then handed them to Kushina. "Thank you, Jingyi, you're so nice." Kushina was very happy, and her beautiful big eyes were smiling into crescents. "You're the starving ghost." Tsunade was almost choked to death by these words, and rolled her eyes at Jingyi. The two of them were so busy that they had to eat together. Jingyi ignored Tsunade and cut a piece of meat for himself, sitting next to Kushina and eating together. In addition to meat, he also prepared fruit salad and juice. There were also vegetables to relieve greasiness. Although they were pulled up early in the morning to buy vegetables, in such weather, several people ate the fragrant barbecue around the fire, and the atmosphere was very good. In order to prevent a bandit who asked for 3 servings from not being full, Jingyi bought some more meat. After eating a plate of meat and some fruit salad, Jingyi felt full. Kushina was similar. Rope Tree and Tsunade were more powerful in combat, and they were still making a lot of efforts. Seeing the way the brother and sister were eating meat, Jingyi could only say that they were indeed siblings. "Kushina, have you made any new friends in school recently?" "No, only half. Since she knocked out her classmates' teeth on the first day of school, Kushina has become the little bully in the class, and almost no one dares to provoke her. Similarly, the classmates in the class are afraid of her and dare not approach her." "Half? Can a friend be half?" Jingyi was stunned for a moment and couldn't help laughing. The idea of a child is very strange, and there can be half a friend. "Yes, that's half." Kushina held her little hands and hummed. "His name is Minato Namikaze, the little yellow-haired boy I mentioned last time. He is the only one in the class who is willing to be friends with me, and he is not afraid of my fierceness." "Tisk, how to say it, he is indeed a little yellow-haired boy." Jingyi asked, "Does Kushina like Minato as a friend?" "No," Kushina said angrily, "he is only half of my friend, and he looks silly, just smiling silly, just like Nawase." Ahem. Nawase, who was eating meat in big mouthfuls, almost choked to death. "Kushina, who are you saying is silly? Am I that silly?" "Hehe, Sister Makoto also said you were silly." Kushina gave Nawase a critical hit with her backhand, or the super double kind. In an instant, Nawase felt that the barbecue in his hand was not fragrant. Because of the age difference, in addition to taking care of Kushina, Nawase did not like to play with Kushina. He thought Kushina was childish, and Kushina thought he was stupid. The brother and sister disliked each other. Ha ha ha. Jingyi laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. Tsunade also found it funny. "Silly brother, now you know your situation, even Kushina thinks you are silly." Uchiha Makoto is a recognized talent in the school. With her beautiful appearance and gentle temperament, she has become the white moonlight in the hearts of countless male classmates. Although Naoki did not regard Uchiha Makoto as his white moonlight, he could not escape the good impression. This led to Kushina complaining that he was silly. Naoki was just unhappy. When it came to Uchiha Makoto, Naoki instantly became autistic. If the girl you like says that she is silly, I guess few people can still laugh. Change it as soon as possible, you are still young, there are still many opportunities. Jingyi rubbed his belly and patted Naoki's shoulder. Why? Naoki was not convinced. Why can others like Uchiha Makoto, but I can't? Jingyi had no choice but to give Tsunade a look. Are you sure you don't want to teach your brother a lesson? Tsunade just pretended not to see it. Jingyi, can I bring my friends over as guests? Kushina pulled Jingyi's hand and shook it vigorously, looking at him eagerly. Okay, Kushina's friends are my friends. If you want, bring them over. Jingyi felt a headache. This hot-tempered little pepper was acting like a spoiled child, which was really unbearable. But I have to wait until my mission is over. Yeah, Jingyi, you are so nice. I like you the most. We have a deal. Kushina jumped up happily. Tsunade couldn't help but joke. Kushina, do you know what love is? Of course I know. Love is love. Children in the ninja world are more precocious, and the same is true in terms of emotions, but it is a bit difficult to express them. Look, Kushina hesitated for a long time and didn't say anything. This child, Tsunade tried hard to hold back her laughter. Trying hard to express, but finding that she couldn't express it clearly, Kushina began to get anxious, just like Naoki-san likes Makoto-san. Puff. The meat in Naoki's mouth spurted out far away. Don't listen to her. You will understand this kind of thing when you grow up. You Tsunade. I am confused myself. Jingyi patted Kushina's little head. You said I like to play with children when I have nothing to do, what about you? Look at the child, he is so anxious that he even dragged Naoki out to take the blame. Why? Kushina looked up blankly. Naoki, who finally found an opportunity, answered loudly, because my sister has not found someone she likes, and no one dares to like her. Jingyi, am I right? Ah, this. You are so smart. Looking at Tsunade, who could no longer laugh, Jingyi thought it was better to stay away, picked up Kushina and ran towards the house. As for Naoki, he could only say that you kid can only wish you good luck. Sister, I was wrong, I was really wrong, ah. It hurts. Quote. Outside the house, there was a scream from Rope Tree. Jingyi and Kushina were sitting on the sofa. Kushina stretched her head out and carefully peeked outside. It was too miserable. Jingyi, is there really no one who likes Tsunade-san? Kushina asked in a low voice. Jingyi blinked, lowered her head and answered in a low voice. Of course not, but most people would not dare to say it even if they like it. So that's it. Kushina showed an expression of sudden enlightenment. Then does Tsunade-san have someone she likes? Quote. Quote. Why do you have so many questions? Jingyi, do you like Tsunade-san? If you like Tsunade-san, would you not dare to say it? Quote. 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 Tsunade, who had eaten and drunk her fill, quickly left with Kushina and the bruised and swollen Rope Tree, and Shizuka finally had time to seal himself. Inside a tavern next to the Shimura clan, the third Hokage, who was invited, sat opposite Shimura Danzo. Then he picked up the wine glass on the table and took a sip of the wine in the glass. Do me a favor. The third Hokage frowned and refused. Sorry, I promised Lord Mito that your position. No need. Shimura Danzo clenched the wine glass in his hand and gritted his teeth and said, send Hyuga Shizuka out, and as for the position of Hokage assistant, I will take it back sooner or later. What does this guy want to do again? The 3 generations of Hokage did not know what Shimura Danzo wanted to do, but he had to warn the other party not to make trouble, otherwise it would be bad for everyone. Sacrifice me for a kid with white eye degeneration disease. Shimura Danzo slammed the table angrily. I just don't want to see him in the village. As long as he leaves the village, I won't continue to target him. The third Hokage didn't believe every word Shimura Danzo said. Shimura Danzo tried every means to get Shizaki out of the village, and he must have no good intentions. The third Hokage frowned and remained silent, without responding. Shimura Danzo approached further. Sarutobi, don't forget that he is a member of the Hyuga clan after all, and there is a caged bird curse seal on his head. As long as the Hyuga clan exists, there will always be a sword hanging over his head. Can you guarantee that when Hyuga Shizuka becomes the second Tsunade, the Hyuga clan will not regret it? Half a person is half a person after all. As long as the caged bird curse seal is not broken, the people of the Hyuga branch will always be controlled by the main family. After speaking, Shimura Danzo stared at the third Hokage, waiting for his answer. The third Hokage drank dully and did not speak for a long time. Only the sound of pouring and drinking could be heard in the tavern. I don't know how long it took. A pot of sake was completely drunk, and the third Hokage with a little red on his face stood up and walked towards the door. The new year is coming, and the people in the border camp need to be rotated. This matter needs the elders to take the lead. The third Hokage was only willing to go with the flow, but for Shimura Danzo, he had already got the result he wanted. That night, Shimura Danzo went to Mito En's residence. The next day, a document on the rotation of the border camp was placed on the desk of the third Hokage. The next step was to select a group of ninjas and go to the border camp to replace the ninjas whose time had expired. And the medical ninjas were also in the rotation lineup. So Jingyi's name appeared on the big list. Jingyi knew nothing about this until someone from the Hokage office building came to inform him to prepare for departure. In other words, the time for a group of ninjas to be stationed in the border camp has come, and the village will select a group of ninjas to rotate, and I am on the rotation list. Is someone trying to mess with me, or is it really me who was picked? I don't know about this either. Please get ready as soon as possible. We will leave in 3 days. The staff of the Hokage office building are only responsible for notifying the parties involved, and they are not aware of the rest. After sending the staff away, Jingyi walked towards the lounge. There was a stove burning in the lounge, making the small lounge warm. In the cold weather, staying in a warm room will make people sleepy. Look, Tsunade was sleeping on the table. Don't sleep, help me look at this. Jingyi pushed Tsunade. Tsunade, who woke up from her sleep, subconsciously wiped the corner of her mouth, and after making sure that she was not drooling, she picked up the notice on the table. Border rotation. Maybe she just woke up and was still a little confused. Tsunade looked carefully for a while, suddenly showing an irritable expression, scratching her hair hard. Why did you hit me? It's so annoying. I thought I could have a peaceful new year. Tsunade, who was in a bad mood after getting up, was in a worse mood and swore directly. It was only when she looked down that she realized that this was not my name. You were picked. Otherwise, Jingyi said speechlessly. I always thought that people with fixed jobs in the village were not included in this range. How is it possible? Tsunade put down the notice, raised her hands and stretched lazily, and explained, as long as you are a ninja in the village, you will be picked sometimes. After all, no one wants to go to the border camp to guard, perform boring tasks every day, and can't go home. When the team was just disbanded 2 years ago, Jiraiya, the unlucky guy, was picked. Thinking of this, Tsunade laughed with gloating. So I was picked, didn't someone deliberately mess with me? Just go with peace of mind. Medical ninjas are very free, you don't need to perform various patrol tasks, you just need to treat the wounded, the rest of the time you are free, and your salary will be paid during the garrison. So, it seems that garrisoning at the border is not bad. Working in the hospital, you have to see patients every day, and when you arrive at the border camp, you have to see a doctor every day. Unless there is a battle, medical ninjas can have nothing to do. Tsunade shrugged. As long as you don't feel bored and idle, it's really good. You can get paid even if you are idle. Are the other ninjas treated the same? Jingyi was very curious. Tsunade curled her lips. Do you think it's possible? If everyone had such treatment, the village would have gone bankrupt long ago. Only ninjas with special professions have such welfare benefits, medical ninjas, sealing ninjas. Medical ninjas and sealing ninjas are both special and rare ninjas, so the treatment and welfare are so good. As for ordinary ninjas, they don't have such good treatment. Then I'll go back and pack my things first, so that I won't have nothing in the camp. You don't have to bring other things, but you must bring more seasonings. When you have nothing to do, you can make yourself something delicious. As for the ingredients, you can just take them locally. As long as you are in the territory of the Land of Fire, there will be no shortage of forests and prey. This is also the benefit of rich resources. If this were the Kingdom of Wind, and you wanted to hunt, you might as well go to the desert to catch lizards. Jingyi didn't tell Kushina that he was leaving the village to guard the border, otherwise the little girl would definitely not want him to leave. 3 days passed in a flash, and Jingyi, who was fully prepared, came to the training ground to gather. The ninjas heading to the border camp would gather at the training ground and then leave the village together. The border business area would not be built very large, and the purpose of the camp was to prevent the enemy from launching a sudden attack. As long as there was any movement on the border, the camp could immediately pass the news back in various ways, so that the village would have room to prepare. Therefore, the number of ninjas stationed in the border camp would not be large. There were only a few dozen people in a camp. Jingyi was the only medical ninja in this group. Some ninjas who knew each other gathered together to chat. I promised my wife that I would spend a lively new year with her, but I was unlucky and had to be stationed at the border. Don't mention it, I was just about to propose to my girlfriend, but the notice came. Ha ha ha, I hope your girlfriend is still your girlfriend when you come back. Go, go, go. By the way, who is the medical ninja in the camp? Let's get to know him first, so that we can ask others for help when we have problems in the future. Whether in the village or in the camp, the medical ninja is the kind that needs to be cherished. If he is injured in the border camp, it will be fatal if he does not receive treatment. In the past, someone offended the medical ninja in the camp, and when he was injured, the medical ninja deliberately delayed for a while, which directly killed him. The two of them were very busy. Hello, everyone. My name is Hyuga Shizuka. Nice to meet you all. A group of people were looking for medical ninjas everywhere. Shizuka couldn't stand on the edge any longer, so he came out and introduced himself. Go, go, we're looking for medical ninjas. Why are you from the Hyuga clan joining in the fun? What Hyuga clan? Look at his eyes. There was no Hyuga person with white eyes. Everyone noticed the bright spot, and they all stared at Shizuka curiously, wondering what was wrong with his eyes. At this time, two ninjas wearing Jonin vests walked into the training ground. Among them, the Jonin with long black hair shouted, "Quiet!" The training ground was quiet instantly, and the long-haired Jonin shouted, "My name is Honda, you can call me Captain Honda, I hope to get along with you all in a friendly way during the time of guarding the border. Now start the roll call." When it was Jingyi's turn, Honda looked at him twice more, and nodded after confirming that it was correct, and then continued to the next one. It was correct as written in the information. He was a member of the Hyuga clan, but he suffered from the disease of degeneration of the white eyes. In order to treat himself, he studied hard and eventually became a medical ninja. All the people on the rotation list were present. The Jonin standing next to Honda was Sarutobi Mishima, and his position was the deputy captain of the camp. After confirming that everyone was present, Honda waved his hand and said, "Let's go." Led by the two captains, dozens of people followed behind, left the village together, and rushed towards the border. Except for the two captains, no one else knew which camp they would go to for rotation. After leaving the village, Sarutobi Mishima came to Jingyi and tried to build a relationship with him. As the only medical ninja in the camp, you must build a good relationship with him. Otherwise, if you offend the medical ninja, he will deliberately mess with you at the least, or kill you in serious cases, and you won't know what happened. Medicine and poison are not separated. It's not a joke. As a student brought up by Tsunade herself, Jingyi can also play with poison. Before leaving, Tsunade came to me, hoping to give you some freedom of movement. I don't know if Tsunade will accept it if he promises her body. Since the day he met her, Tsunade has been really good to him. Apart from eating for free, she has hardly asked for anything in return. When encountering problems, Tsunade will take the initiative to help without Jingyi even asking. It's also a pity that Tsunade doesn't have a few coins in her pocket, otherwise Jingyi really wants to hug her thighs and ask for support. Jingyi said, "When we get to the camp, the two captains and all the companions need to take good care of me. After all, I am just a medical ninja and I am not good at fighting. Don't worry, as long as we are here, no one can hurt you." A group of people patted their chests and promised that they would protect Jingyi's personal safety. The impression that medical ninjas are weak in combat has long been deeply rooted in people's hearts. When Jingyi made such a request, the ninjas who went to the camp to rotate together were very happy. Everyone wants to have a good relationship with the medical ninja. Isn't this opportunity delivered to the door? It's also a good thing that Tsunade is not here, otherwise he will definitely be punched. Captain Honda also took 2 sealing scrolls to Jingyi, which contained various medical drugs. As the only medical ninja, these supplies must be handed over to Jingyi for arrangement and safekeeping. It saves them from being in a hurry and unable to find things when someone is injured and needs treatment. It took the team 2 days to reach the destination. The rotation was smooth and no accidents occurred during the period. Standing in the wooden house in the camp, with his hands behind his back, Jingyi looked up at the gloomy sky and the raindrops and sighed, what a mistake, it seems that I will be so idle in the future. Jingyi thought about the rotation locations, but he didn't expect that the camp where they rotated was at the border of the rain country. What kind of place is the rain country? There is no clear sky for 3 days, and it is covered in heavy rain all year round. It is a country with nothing but rain. If you use a sentence to describe the economic situation of each village and country, the sand village will say that it is so poor that only sand is left, the rock village will feel wrong because it is so poor that only bare stones are left, the mist village is so poor that it can only eat dried fish, the cloud village is so poor that it can only eat beef, and Konoha is so poor that there is nothing else except food. On the other hand, the rain village, as the name suggests, has nothing else except rain. When he first entered the camp, Jingyi was still interested in such weather because he liked to stand in the house and watch the rain outside. But on the first day, the second day, the third day, after a day, boredom began to appear. Fortunately, medical ninjas do not need to perform various duty and patrol tasks. Others need to run around in the heavy rain, and Jingyi only needs to stay in the camp to rest. Jingyi, I brought you a gift. The patrol leader, Xiao Honda, happily carried a wild deer into the camp. Captain, this is not a gift for Mr. Jingyi. I think you are greedy. Ha ha ha, you are right. The captain has complained that his mouth is almost empty. Shut up. Xiao Honda's dark face began to turn red, and he pointed at the people who laughed at him and cursed. I am greedy, right? I am empty-mouthed, right? Just don't eat the barbecue later. A bunch of dogs. I patrolled in the heavy rain and killed a prey on the way back. I wanted to add a snack to everyone, but you made fun of me instead. Laugh. What are you laughing at? Go clean up the prey, and then bring some firewood. It has to be dry. As I said before, as long as you are in the territory of the land of fire, there will be no shortage of prey. On the contrary, firewood is more difficult to get, because the continuous heavy rain all year round makes the surrounding plants and trees wet. Wet wood is not only difficult to ignite, but it can also choke people to death if it is ignited. The firewood burned in the camp was cut in advance and piled in the wooden house. It was not carried out until it was dry. With the identity of a medical ninja and good cooking skills, Jingyi quickly integrated into the camp and became the object of everyone's pursuit. Looking at the firewood on the ground, Jingyi said self-deprecatingly, I didn't expect that the camp medical room has not opened yet, but it has become the camp kitchen. Ha ha ha. Jingyi's complaints made everyone laugh. Complaints aside, barbecue still needs to be eaten. Honda is almost out of his mind, and Jingyi is not much better. He eats dry food all day long, and he can't stand eating more meals. It's no wonder that the ninjas stationed in the camp want to go back to the village and go home. Life in the camp is really hard. Soon, the processed wild deer was put in the medical room. Honda, the captain of the camp, personally went out to help light the fire, and Jingyi was responsible for the barbecue. Deputy Captain Sarutobi Mishima rarely went out for patrols and duty, and stayed in the camp most of the time. After a few days of observation, Jingyi found that the deputy captain seemed to have been paying attention to the medical room. Is it guarding in secret or monitoring? It's also because he is a member of the Sarutobi clan. If it were a ninja from the Shimura clan, Jing would definitely accuse him of monitoring. The aroma of roasted venison soon filled the camp, and everyone was looking forward to it, waiting for the venison to be roasted and put down the dry food in their hands. Everyone line up, don't rush. After the venison was roasted, Captain Honda took out a brand new kunai, wiped it clean and began to divide the meat. A complete hind leg became Jingyi's exclusive part, and the others each got a piece. Everyone had no objection to Honda's way of trying to please Jingyi. After the venison was distributed, everyone dispersed and returned to the wooden house to enjoy the food. Captain Mishima, can we chat? Just as Sarutobi Mishima was about to leave, Jingyi stopped him. Sarutobi Mishima, who was about to return to the wooden house to enjoy the food with the roasted meat in his hand, was stunned for a moment, then smiled and nodded, accepting Jingyi's invitation. I'm afraid the weather will be very cold tomorrow. The snow was still shining, and the snow was still shining. Sarutobi Mishima took a look at the snowflakes mixed with the rain, walked into the wooden house, and closed the door. Jingyi took out 2 bottles of fruit wine brought from the village and invited Sarutobi Mishima to sit down. Other places have already been covered with heavy snow. It is only because of the special geographical environment of the rain country that it is not covered with heavy snow. However, sleet will lower the temperature even lower. I didn't expect you to bring such a good thing. It's a pity that it's not sake. Took the opened wine and took 2 sips. The only drawback was that the fruit wine tasted very light. It's better to say that this thing is a drink than wine. Jingyi took a sip of the fruit wine and joked to himself, I'm still young, not old enough to drink. Sarutobi Mishima was stunned for a moment, and laughed a few seconds later. If you didn't say it, I would have almost forgotten that you are not yet 14 years old. That's great. When I was 14, I was still a chunin, following the teacher's ask to perform tasks, and was scolded by the teacher. Hearing this, Jingyi also laughed, and then came a straight ball. Then Captain Mishima, can you tell me why you have been wandering around? Is it for secret protection or surveillance? Quote. The laughter stopped abruptly, and Sarutobi Mishima, who was drinking fruit wine and eating barbecue, froze his hand holding the wine bottle in midair. He looked at Jingyi with a look of surprise, hesitated for a moment, and smiled bitterly, I didn't expect you to find out. Then, can Captain Mishima help me solve the puzzle? Jingyi didn't say how he found out. Putting the bottle on the table, Sarutobi Mishima sighed and said helplessly. Before coming here, the Hokage specifically asked me to protect you secretly. I was not originally on the rotation list this time. Captain Honda also knows my secret mission, so he personally leads the patrols of the camp, and I mainly stay in the camp to prevent accidents. This also explains why Honda, as the captain, needs to lead the team on duty and patrol, while the deputy captain Sarutobi Mishima can stay in the camp all the time. Protect. Sarutobi Mishima doesn't seem to be lying, so why did the third Hokage choose a senior ninja from the family and put him in the reincarnation lineup to protect him? Did the third Hokage know that he would be assassinated? Connecting the limited information, Jingyi found that he was probably selected on purpose to enter the camp rotation list, not because of bad luck. But the selection of personnel needs to be decided by the third Hokage, so why did the third Hokage choose him and send someone to protect him? Isn't this just taking off your pants to fart? It's unnecessary. If they really wanted to protect him, they wouldn't let him leave the village. So it wasn't the third Hokage who deliberately put him on the rotation list, but someone else wanted him to. But the third Hokage didn't want him to get into trouble, so he stuffed someone in to protect him. So who is targeting him? The elders. It shouldn't be that bad. The elders' position is the same as the third Hokage, and he hasn't sinned against the elders. Then it's Shimura Danzo. The position of the Hokage's assistant was completely demoted, and anyone would be unwilling to accept it, let alone someone like Shimura Danzo who is narrow-minded and ambitious. With the previous warning, Shimura Danzo couldn't do anything to him in the village. In this case, if you still want to retaliate against him, you can only get him out of the village first. So, Shizuka's name was on the rotation list. So how will Shimura Danzo do it? As the only medical ninja in the camp, Jingyi will not leave the camp easily. There are dozens of ninjas in the camp. It is not easy to kill him under the protection of so many people. Then the vice captain will have to work hard in the future. This is my mission, as long as it does not cause misunderstandings. Protecting people secretly, but being caught in the act within a few days, this is very uncomfortable for Sarutobi Mishima. Failure. Protecting the medical ninja secretly, but being discovered by the other party at the beginning of the protection mission. If this gets out, Sarutobi Mishima will lose face. After eating and drinking, with a full stomach of depression, Sarutobi Mishima left the medical room in disgrace. Jingyi walked to the fire and looked at the dark night sky outside through the crack of the door. After a long time, Jingyi withdrew his gaze, came to the table, took out a sealing scroll, took out a lot of materials and a dead crow. This is Jingyi on the way to the camp. As soon as he caught the prey, he planned to make the crow into a puppet to transmit information. Jingyi originally planned to make the puppet during the new year, and then send a few blessings to Tsunade, Kushina and others. Now it seems that it needs to be used in advance. After the materials were prepared and various tools were taken out, Jingyi began to deal with the crow's body skillfully. After the crow's body was processed, various parts and puppet cores were stuffed into the crow's body, and then injected with the unique chakra of the reincarnation eye. Wow, The originally stiff crow suddenly blinked, jumped up from the table, and jumped back and forth on the table. Jingyi took out a pen and a special intelligence transmission scroll, wrote down some things that happened in the camp, and then set a special password. Then he tied the small intelligence scroll to the crow's feet and ordered the crow to fly to Konoha and send the intelligence scroll back. The crow puppet with the intelligence scroll flew into the dark night sky and flew to Konoha in the heavy rain. The direction and route of the crow's flight were controlled by Jingyi, so that there would be no mistakes of flying in the wrong direction, finding the wrong place, or finding the wrong person. The crow puppet flew very fast. It flew from the border of the rain country to Konoha in just a few hours, flapped its wings and landed at the Senju ancestral home, and then jumped towards Tsunade's direction. After finding the right position, the crow puppet pecked at the glass twice. Tsunade woke up from her sleep, turned over and jumped up to open the window, and grabbed the puppet crow standing on the windowsill in her hand. Whose summoning beast sent the intelligence scroll to me? Fortunately, Tsunade didn't use force, otherwise if she squeezed it hard, she would find that the crow in her hand was not a summoning beast at all, but a puppet. Untie the rubber band on her head, tie up the wings of the crow puppet, and throw the crow puppet aside. Tsunade turned on the light and began to observe the intelligence scroll in her hand. The scroll needs a password to unlock. Tsunade was inexplicably agitated. She didn't even know who sent the intelligence scroll. How could she unlock it without the password? Jing. Twisting the scroll around, Tsunade found that there was a word, Jing, written on it. Could it be the scroll sent back by Jingyi? Then the password. Suddenly, Tsunade thought of something, and her delicate face darkened instantly. She clenched the scroll in her hand and gritted her teeth and cursed, Hanada Jingyi, you'd better be careful when you come back. 250. The password is right. Tsunade successfully cursed. She had lost all her money in the casino before, and there were only a few coins left in her pocket. She counted the number and it was exactly 250, and Jingyi laughed at her several times. As a result, Jingyi used this number as a password. Isn't this exposing Tsunade's scar? Hanada Jingyi, you have to curse me in a roundabout way to pass on an intelligence scroll, right? You'll be dead when you come back. Tsunade, who was full of anger, opened the scroll and took a look at it. The anger in her heart disappeared. To be more precise, the anger towards Shizui disappeared. And Shimura Danzo also successfully aroused Tsunade's anger. Danzo, you were really good. After cursing a few words, Tsunade took the scroll and found Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito was woken up in the middle of the night. Her mental state was not very good. After reading the scroll handed by her granddaughter, Uzumaki Mito knew that her granddaughter would not sit still. Little Tsunade, what do you want to do? Do you need Grandma to help you? Tsunade said. Grandma, I need a letter to be sent to the daimyo's mansion. I want to visit the daimyo in the daimyo's mansion. It should be, after all, the new year is coming soon, and I should visit. Uzumaki Mito expressed his support. Chapter 31. The two sides of the stalemate were in the same family. The daimyo family and the Senju clan are relatives, and the relationship with Tsunade is closer. As the new year is approaching, it is reasonable for Tsunade to visit the daimyo as a junior. No one can find fault with it. Besides, it was Mito Uzumaki's idea. The next day, Tsunade went to the Hokage's office with a nonchalant look on her face, then left the village and went straight to the daimyo family. Mito Uzumaki asked Tsunade to visit the daimyo as a junior, and the third Hokage raised his hands and feet to support her. He even hoped that Tsunade could stay in the daimyo family and spend the new year with the daimyo, so as to bring the daimyo family and the village closer. Once the relationship is closer, it will be easier to ask for money in the future. After leaving the village, Tsunade did go to the daimyo's mansion and really visited the daimyo. Then she strolled around the daimyo's mansion for a few days and bought a lot of things before quietly leaving and turning to the border camp. There were people on duty at the camp day and night, but it was difficult for ordinary ninjas to detect Tsunade's infiltration. Tsunade, who turned a corner from the daimyo's mansion, came to the border camp and sneaked into the camp. Affected by the temperature in various places, the rain country and surrounding areas began to sleet, and occasionally there would be rain and broken ice. Such extreme weather caused the entire rain country and surrounding areas to be covered with a thick layer of ice. The temperature continued to drop. Except for the ninjas on duty, everyone else in the camp hid in the wooden house to rest or burn fires to keep warm. The medical room is Jingyi's exclusive activity area, and other ninjas will not come here if there is nothing to do. In the wooden house, Jingyi was lying on the bed with a book brought from the village in his hand. Someone came, and it was an acquaintance. Jingyi put down the book in his hand, and watched the other party pry open the window of the medical room with his hands and feet, and then rushed in. How come you are so skilled in this action? You must have practiced a lot in the past. Going into the medical room through the window, Tsunade glanced at Jingyi lying on the bed reading a book, and snorted. Not bad. I received the news and went straight to the daimyo's mansion under the excuse of visiting relatives, and then turned around and ran from the daimyo's mansion. You are so good, you still have the mind to read a book. What else? Jingyi replied unhappily. Worried and frightened all day long. If that's the case, I don't need to wait for others to deal with me secretly, I will be scared to death first. You'd better come in quickly and cover yourself up and warm up. It's winter, and the cold temperature is not a joke. It's also thanks to the strong resistance of ninjas. If it were an ordinary person, he would have died long ago after running around like this. Jingyi gave up his position and motioned Tsunade to warm up in the quilt. You have a little conscience, and it's worth my running around. Tsunade gave Jingyi an appreciative look. Jingyi left the sleeping room very rationally so that Tsunade could change clothes. After Jingyi left, Tsunade quickly lifted her clothes, then threw the wet clothes and underwear into the corner, and the next second she got into the quilt. Wait, curled up in the quilt for a while, and when her body was warm, Tsunade subconsciously wanted to reach out for clothes. She realized that she was not at home, there were no clothes piled at the head of the bed for her to change, and the previous clothes had been thrown into another corner of the room. And they were all wet and could not be worn. Jingyi, holding a plate, pushed open the door and walked into the room. When he opened the door, he saw wet clothes in the corner. He didn't think much about it, and walked directly to the bed and handed the plate to Tsunade. Here, there are only 2 portions today. The conditions in the camp are not as good as those in the village. These meats are divided by the captain from the prey he hunted while on patrol. The hand holding the plate waited in the air for more than 10 seconds, and Jingyi felt something was wrong. This girl usually likes to rush to eat, why is she so reserved today? Can female bandits be reserved sometimes? Tsunade, lying in the bed, was embarrassed and her toes almost tore a hole in the quilt. After all the calculations, she missed the change of clothes. Even if she is usually carefree, she is a woman after all, and there are times when she is embarrassed. There was no movement for a long time, and Jingyi felt very strange. Tsunade was a little bit wrong today. She seemed to have thought of something, and looked back at the clothes in the corner and reacted. Are you in neutral? What the hell are you laughing at? Seeing Jingyi looking at her with a half smile, Tsunade gnashed her teeth in anger and wanted to jump out of the quilt and give him 2 big slaps. Ha ha ha, it would have been better if Tsunade didn't scold him, Jingyi. I couldn't help laughing. At this moment, no matter how straightforward she was, Tsunade couldn't stand it. She blushed for the first time. She stretched out her hand in a rage, grabbed Jingyi's clothes, pressed Jingyi on the bed, covered him with a quilt, and raised her hand to hit him. Plate. She was holding a plate with freshly fried meat in it. If it was overturned, it would definitely be all over the bed. Noticing that the plate in her hand was about to fall, Jingyi could only use the repulsive force to bounce the quilt that was covering her face away. Before her fist landed on Jingyi, Tsunade felt a strong impact, and then the quilt covering Jingyi's head was torn into several pieces. Tsunade, who was holding her fist, was stunned for a moment. Jingyi, who turned over and stabilized the plate in his hand, was also stunned. This doesn't seem to be something that children can watch. Not suitable for young people, not suitable for children. The 4 looked at each other for a few seconds, then Jingyi stuffed the plate to Tsunade, threw down a ceiling scroll and ran away. There are my clothes in the scroll. Although they are men's, they have never been worn. You can make do with them for now. What was that just now? Ninjutsu. No, it was more like a rebound impact with Jingyi as the center. Tsunade's head was buzzing, thinking about what had just happened. She was sure that this was Jingyi's hidden secret, but she accidentally forced it out. Tsunade looked down at her body and laughed angrily. You are good, I will settle accounts with you later. If it were someone else, they would definitely be ashamed and embarrassed in this situation. Although Tsunade was embarrassed, she could keep her emotions stable. If Jingyi was peeking or deliberately making trouble, Tsunade would definitely be furious. Jirai, who was almost beaten to death by a punch, is the best example. After opening the seal scroll and picking out a set of clothes that looked good to her, Tsunade picked up the plate and started eating. Standing at the door with his ears perked up, Jingyi heard the sound of eating, and his heart finally settled down. Tsunade eating meant that the situation was not as bad as he thought. Although he accidentally took advantage of her, gently pushed the door open, looked into the room, and made sure that Tsunade was dressed, Jingyi walked in. Glancing at Jingyi from the corner of his eye, Tsunade said, "Grandma and I have considered that the old man must be an insider, otherwise he would not send anyone to protect you. As for who is targeting you, I think you should know it in your heart. It should be Shimura Danzo. If the Hokage wanted to target me, there would be no need to go through so much trouble, and he would not send someone to protect me secretly." Jingyi pulled a chair over and sat down, analyzing. "In the village, he is the only one who would attack me. Although I don't understand what he is planning, the Hokage sent someone to follow. I mean that Shimura Danzo can't use the power of the village to attack me, it can only be foreign forces." Quote, "The possibility of a bounty assassination is not high, because I am in the camp, and it is difficult for ordinary ninjas to complete such an assassination mission. If the bounty is too high, it may cause some trouble to him, so foreign forces are the first choice." Quote, "If nothing unexpected happens, the possibility of the Rain Village is very high." You mean, this old guy Danzo can convince the Rain Village to send someone to assassinate you? Tsunade paused with her hand holding the fork. Hanzo of the Salamander shouldn't be so stupid. If he attacks the camp directly, it is equivalent to declaring war on the village. The Rain Village will never do such a risky thing. The Rain Village will never attack the camp, but what about Hanzo? The two sides of the river are in chaos. Shizuoichi shook his finger at Tsunade. As long as there is enough benefit, I think the ambitious Hanzo wouldn't mind cooperating with Shimura Danzo once. With his strength, he can sneak in and assassinate, and ordinary people can't stop him at all. Shimura Danzo couldn't do it himself because the risk of exposure was too great. Once the news of assassinating a fellow villager leaked out, he would definitely be in trouble. This is why the third Hokage didn't allow him to borrow the power of the village, because he was worried that Shimura Danzo would accidentally get out of control. Once he got out of control, if Uzumaki Mito got angry, it would be difficult to end the situation. Then asking for help became Shimura Danzo's only option. And Hanzo of the Salamander is the most suitable candidate, and Jingyi is in the border camp of the Rain Country, which is very close, so he doesn't need to travel too far. Hanzo of the Salamander. Tsunade frowned, because this person is not an ordinary person, but a demigod, which is enough to show how strong the other party is. To be frank, Hanzo of the Salamander is definitely one of the top ones in the ninja world. If he makes a move, Jingyi will be in danger. Judging from the paper strength shown by Jingyi, it is indeed very dangerous to be assassinated by a strong man like Hanzo of the Salamander. I specifically asked when I left. Danzo Shimura announced that his old illness had relapsed and he was resting at home. He may leave the village at any time and persuade foreign enemies to deal with you. Rest and recuperate. It's just an excuse to make it easier for him to leave the village quietly. After putting the last piece of meat into her mouth, Tsunade put down the plate and said seriously, "What do you think? Want to transfer me back to the village?" No. Jingyi rejected this proposal. Uzumaki Mito came forward. Even if the third Hokage was not happy, he was willing to give him this face and transfer him back. Why? Tsunade didn't understand. Knowing that someone was secretly dealing with you, you still didn't want to transfer back. Jingyi said seriously, "Is there a possibility that Shimura Danzo wanted Mito-sama to come forward and transfer me back?" Tsunade, people who are good at playing conspiracies have dirty hearts. As long as they can achieve their goals, people like Shimura Danzo don't mind using some dirty means. Don't look at the third Hokage standing firmly on the side of Uzumaki Mito. As long as a situation that is beneficial to him appears, he doesn't mind being an uninformed person. Mito-sama is definitely not afraid of Shimura Danzo, but if some things are done and bad news is spread, it can cause a lot of misunderstandings. Hitaki Sakumo is a lesson learned from the past. Tsunade was about to speak, but Jingyi interrupted her and continued. Mito-sama's identity is very special. Shimura Danzo certainly dare not target her openly, but I can't run away. As long as I am transferred back to the village, he will come to me. At that time, those ninjas stationed in the border camp will definitely not be happy, and their families will also have complaints. Public opinion is sometimes more terrible than assassination. So we can only passively accept it. Tsunade hates this feeling of not being able to control the situation. Too passive. Not really. Jingyi laughed. Think about it, I just need to stay in the camp. He can't manipulate public opinion against me. As for assassination, he first finds a way to convince the people who can assassinate me. After all, no one is a fool, without sufficient benefits, who will take the risk of doing such a thing. Hanzo of the Salamander is very strong, but is Hanzo of the Salamander stupid? Definitely not stupid. Without sufficient benefits, others would not care about Shimura Danzo. The embarrassing thing is that Shimura Danzo at this time happened to be in a stage where his position was removed and he could not control the power and interests of the village. Without sufficient benefits, it would be very difficult to persuade Hanzo to help. If you were Hanzo, would you help Shimura Danzo for no reason? Without sufficient benefits, only fools would help. Tsunade shook her head decisively. She is not stupid, and Hanzo is not stupid either. It depends on what benefits Shimura Danzo can offer to attract Hanzo. So in the short term, your safety is fine? Tsunade asked. Yes. Jing nodded. Then should we talk about what happened just now? Tsunade narrowed her eyes, walked towards the door first, and locked the wooden door of the room. What does this little girl want to do? Is she going to settle the score later? Ahem. Jingyi tried to defend himself. Tsunade, this can't be blamed on me, it was you who covered the quilt. It's on my head, and I'm holding a plate in my hand, I can't let the plate fall. Quote. Then what do you say? Does it look good? Looks good. Jingyi felt that he was an honest young man, and couldn't lie. If it looks good, it looks good. You, Tsunade, who wanted to attack directly, was defeated. Are you so straightforward, Hyuga Jingyi? How about I take a loss and pledge my love to you? Quote. Quote. Hyuga Jingyi, you're going to die for me. Wait, don't do it, let's talk it over, are you serious? I'm going to fight back. Wait, I'm still a child, you can't do this. Tsunade roared, and everyone in the camp was awakened. They rushed out of the cabin and rushed to the medical room. Wait, quote. Others are not familiar with Tsunade, but Sarutobi Mishima is different. Realizing that the voice he just heard was a little familiar, Sarutobi Mishima recalled it, his face changed immediately, and he hurriedly called others. Mishima, the people in the medical room. Little Honda turned his head. Sarutobi Mishima raised his hand and rubbed his face, and said helplessly, It's Tsunade-ji, it's definitely her, let's go back to sleep, those on duty continue, don't disturb them. When did Tsunade-ji come to the camp, and she was still in the medical room? Accompanying Tsunade Shizuka's shouting, a group of big men in the camp showed eyes that everyone understood, and a few more wretched guys laughed, and did not forget to cast envious eyes towards the medical room. Ahem, except for the people on duty, everyone else go back to sleep, there is nothing for you to do. Drive away a group of people who are watching the show. Little Honda pulled Sarutobi Mishima aside and asked in a low voice, Are you sure it's Tsunade-ji? She and Shizuka. Don't mind what you shouldn't mind, let's go. Sarutobi Mishima didn't want to discuss this kind of thing with Honda. What if Honda couldn't control his mouth? He would be the one who suffered in the end. The camp, which had been lively for a while, soon became quiet. Only the ninjas on duty looked at the medical room curiously, wanting to know what happened in the medical room. Tsunade, that's enough. It's okay to kiss, but you bit me. Shizuka rubbed his lips, as if the skin was broken. Tsunade licked her lips, as if she was savoring it. After a moment, she shook her head and said, It doesn't seem to be anything special. Is it because you haven't grown up yet? If it weren't for the great river crab god watching, I would let you know what stick education is. Go to sleep. Quote. Take out a brand new quilt. Jingyi doesn't want to care about Tsunade, pulls the quilt over and covers himself and prepares to sleep. As for Tsunade, she can either sleep with him or lie on the table. Fortunately, he has foresight and knows that the weather in the rain country is bad, and the quilts may be damp and moldy when winter comes, so he prepared a few more quilts. In this weather, only a fool would sleep on the table. I've seen it, I've nibbled it, who the hell still sleeps on the table? In the dark night, I felt a pair of dishonest hands getting into my clothes, and Tsunade sneered. Didn't you say I was rude and not like a woman? Why are you stretching your hands now? Ahem. Jingyi coughed and changed the subject. When are you going back? I can't stay too long. Quote, Tsunade originally planned to stay in the camp for a while, but after a conversation with Shizuka, she also realized that it was useless for her to stay. In the short term, Shizuka's safety is not a problem. Even if their guess is correct, it is not so easy for Shimura Danzo to persuade Hanzo to assassinate Shizuka. Then go back tomorrow. If you stay too long, I'm afraid someone in the camp will be dissatisfied. It's approaching the new year, and everyone misses the village and their families. He is the only one with him, and he is the only female ninja in the entire camp. At the beginning, some people may be curious, but over time, some people will definitely feel dissatisfied. Okay, Tsunade is not a fussy person. The next morning, Tsunade left the camp early and returned to the village, without even meeting the people in the camp. In her words, it is unnecessary. Anyway, there is no need to stay, just one night, just go directly. The news of her coming and going to the camp was not considered by Tsunade. It would have a bad influence if the news of her coming and going to the camp spread. It would have a bad influence if she stayed for a long time, but who would dare to complain if she stayed for only one night? Is Tsunade gone? After Jingyi walked out of the medical room and confirmed that he was the only one, Honda and Sarutobi Mishima came over. Jingyi stretched and said, I left early in the morning. Jingyi didn't say why Tsunade came. As for what happened last night, it was even more impossible to say. The two captains were also very rational and didn't ask any more questions. After confirming that Tsunade had left, they reminded Jingyi to have a good rest and left. I didn't do anything, I just had a good time, what's the point of resting? As the new year was approaching, the atmosphere in the camp began to change. Everyone lost the enthusiasm they had when they first arrived, and many people frequently looked towards the village. Obviously, they all missed home and wanted to reunite with their families and celebrate the new year together. However, they had a mission to complete, so they could only stay in the camp and could not go anywhere before the next batch of ninjas came to rotate. Ha ha ha, I am the Toad Sage, Master Jiraiya is back. With only 2 days left before the new year, Jiraiya, who was out on a mission, finally returned to the village. Old man, next time there is such a mission, don't give it to me. Go directly to Orochimaru, I am exhausted. After handing in the mission, Jiraiya complained loudly. This mission took too long. Go back and rest, get ready, and have a good new year. The third generation Hokage smiled and changed the subject. Among the 3 disciples, he liked Orochimaru the most, and Orochimaru received the most care. Because of his personality, Jiraiya was the most obedient one. So when encountering some troublesome tasks, the third Hokage would give them to Jiraiya to execute. As for Tsunade, the medical department is too busy. Secondly, Tsunade would directly refuse some tasks. Orochimaru is more decisive. With money, he would be busy with his own experiments and research. As for the tasks, let's find Jiraiya. Old man, let's go. It's impossible to rest. After leaving the Hokage office building, Jiraiya, who was itching inside, went straight to the hot spring hotel. Soon he returned disappointed, because of winter and New Year, there was no one in the hot spring hotel, and Jiraiya, who wanted to enjoy the sight, was disappointed. If you can't enjoy the sight, you can only enjoy the mouth. Jiraiya found Orochimaru, dragged Orochimaru out of the laboratory, and then dragged Tsunade to the tavern together. Tisk. Finally alive, this mission is so annoying, I almost died of exhaustion. Drinking a little wine, Jiraiya complained non-stop. Orochimaru listened quietly, as usual, and let his words go in one ear and out the other. After complaining for a long time, Jiraiya suddenly felt that the atmosphere was not right. Orochimaru was still the same Orochimaru, ignoring him and treating his words as nonsense. And Tsunade, Jiraiya found something wrong. In the past, when the three of them got together, Tsunade would curse or even hit him when she heard him complain. This time, Tsunade did not curse, let alone hit anyone. What happened after I left the village? Jiraiya blinked blankly. Tsunade, is the food not to your taste? Tsunade used to like the food in this small shop, but why didn't she eat much today? Maybe the taste has changed. It doesn't taste as good as before. Tsunade rarely got angry at Jiraiya, but instead curiously asked Jiraiya what interesting things he encountered during his mission. Is this still the Tsunade I know? Jiraiya opened his mouth so wide that it almost fell on the table. Orochimaru, who was quietly tasting wine, also felt a little strange. Tsunade was too quiet today. Orochimaru couldn't figure out why. Since the team disbanded, the three of them have been together less and less. It has been a long time since they last met. After dinner, everyone went their separate ways. Jiraiya found his loyal little fan, Naoki. Is there anything wrong with your sister recently? No. Naoki was reading the book brought by Jiraiya with great interest. Hearing this, he said without raising his head. Maybe her appetite is not very good. Not only her, but also Kushina. After Shizuka left, we haven't had delicious food for a long time. Shizuka, Tsunade's little apprentice. Quote, Jiraiya was stunned. Shungshu said dissatisfiedly, what little apprentice? Jingyi is just learning from my sister, not a teacher apprentice. My sister doesn't even admit that she has an apprentice. Hehehehe. Quote, soon, Naoki's mind was immersed in the book, leaving Jiraiya sitting aside scratching his head. He felt as if he had missed something. But he couldn't put his finger on it. Compared to Konoha, which was full of red lanterns, the border camp was still the same. Little Honda made 2 lanterns with red paper and hung them at the entrance of the camp to celebrate the arrival of the new year. Unfortunately, the red lanterns did not have any effect, but made many ninjas miss their families even more. You don't know how to deal with things. Noticing that the atmosphere in the camp was not right, Jingyi could only shake his head. Many people were missing their families and looking forward to returning home as soon as possible, but the village didn't show any expression. It's okay for the rest of the time. With the arrival of the new year, shouldn't some supplies be sent to reward the ninjas stationed at the border? Konoha was so poor that it couldn't give anything to reward the ninjas stationed at the border. The ninjas level, no expression at all, can only say that the F4 group is inactive. Closer, closer and closer. Somehow, Jingyi felt that the third fetal movement of the Samsara Eye was coming. On the night of the new year, the third fetal movement of the Samsara Eye came as expected. Jingyi, who had been prepared, took out the white cloth prepared in advance to cover his eyes and lay peacefully on the bed. 3 fetal movements, each lasting longer than the previous one. Maybe it was because he didn't have the Otsutsuki chakra, so the fetal movement of the Samsara Eye lasted a little longer. The interval was also quite long. In the entire border camp, as the only medical ninja, Jingyi has always been the most valued one. When they found that he had a white cloth covering his eyes, everyone in the camp became nervous. Jingyi, are your eyes okay? Little Honda was very nervous. Jingyi must not get into trouble. As a member of the 3rd Hokage's clan, Sarutobi Mishima knew some inside information. Jingyi, the sequelae of the degeneration of the white eye have begun again. Yes, my eyes are not very comfortable, and I feel something is jumping. During this period, I am afraid of strong light and cannot attack at will. Everyone should protect themselves during this period. The sequelae have appeared twice before, and each time it lasted for a period of time. I don't know how long it will last this time. After listening to Jingyi's story, Honda said angrily, Hokage should transfer you back. Your health is not good. This, Sarutobi Mishima could hear that Honda was very resentful. As a member of the 3rd Hokage's clan, his position was naturally a bit awkward, and it was difficult to respond. Jingyi smiled and shook his head, comforting Honda, who was a little anxious. Captain, I have experienced this twice. During this period, I can take care of myself, so there is no need to rotate or anything. If someone is injured, can you treat it? Xiao Honda asked the most worrying question. As a medical ninja, the duty is to treat the wounded and rescue the wounded. If you can't even save people, then this medical ninja will become a decoration. The wound was severe, but the wound was still severe. Simple treatment and surgery are no problem, Captain, don't worry, I'm just not suitable for fighting, it doesn't mean I can't use ninjutsu. In fact, Jingyi was not affected very much. As long as he didn't look directly at the strong light, everything else was fine, using medical ninjutsu or fighting was no problem. Exaggerating the situation was just a sign of weakness. Jingyi couldn't be sure if there were any people from Shimura Danzo in the camp. If there were, then showing weakness was the best way to trick people. If Shimura Danzo took the opportunity to attack him, Jingyi would definitely give him a big surprise. That's good. Xiao Honda breathed a sigh of relief. Jingyi, you can rest in the medical room without worrying about anything else. Mishima and I will take care of it. During the recovery of your eyes, I will ask everyone to be careful and reduce the possibility of injury as much as possible to reduce the trouble for you. We can all rest assured if you recover soon. After comforting Jingyi, Xiao Honda and Sarutobi Mishima left together. After leaving the medical room, Xiao Honda complained, Mishima, Jingyi's situation should not have been drawn. Do you know what happened? I don't know. Just kidding, how can such a thing be told to others? Don't say it's unclear, there is only a little guess, even if you know it, you can't say it. It will be bad. Don't worry, it will be better soon. Jingyi's current situation has occurred twice in the village before, and it recovered not long ago. Don't think too much, let everyone not worry about it. That's the only way. The sequelae of Jingyi's white eye degeneration occurred again, and the news was quickly sent out of the camp. That night, the third Hokage in Konoha had received the news. The news was delivered by Sarutobi Mishima. Danzo, what would you do? Shizuichi had a physical problem, which was a good opportunity for Shimura Danzo to take action. But taking action would be exposed, and the third Hokage was very curious about what the other party would do. The third Hokage believed that Shimura Danzo must have a channel to get the same information. After learning that Shizuichi had a physical problem, whether Shimura Danzo would take action became the most concerned issue for the third Hokage. Humph. After receiving the same information, Shimura Danzo snorted coldly and threw the information scroll into the furnace and burned it directly. The third Hokage knew very well what kind of person Shimura Danzo was, and in turn, Shimura Danzo also knew what kind of person the third Hokage was. Cooperating with him and tacitly allowing him to take action was the last bottom line. Once he stepped into the bottom line, the third Hokage would sell him out without hesitation. As an ambitious man who wants to become the Hokage, Shimura Danzo will not push himself into a trap just to take revenge on Shizuichi. Shizuichi's body has problems, which seems to give him a suitable opportunity to take action, but in Shimura Danzo's opinion, this is not an opportunity at all, but a trap. The reason why Tsunade went to the border camp is obvious. The third Hokage seemed to have acquiesced to his revenge, but in fact, he forced a patch. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Looking up at the Hokage office building, Shimura Danzo was so angry that his teeth itched. In order not to get involved, he had to make Danzo suffer. This was exactly the work of the third Hokage. If the patch was made, Shimura Danzo could still successfully assassinate Shizuichi, and the third Hokage would accept it. As long as Shimura Danzo does not use the power of the village, he can't be blamed anyway. All the anger will go to Shimura Danzo. Jingyi, are your eyes better? Can you take care of yourself? Since the third fetal movement of the Samsara Eye, Jingyi has never left the medical room. He even prepares his own food and drinks without anyone else's hands. Although his medical ninjutsu is good, it is better to be careful during this critical period. It's still the same. It will last for a while. It may not get better until after the new year. Captain, do you have something to talk to me about? With a cloth covering his face, he can't see anything, but it does not affect Jingyi's ability to move. The strong perception and response of gravity and repulsion are enough to replace the eyes. Don't bother. It's cold today. It's better to drink less water, otherwise you have to go to the toilet all the time. Xiao Honda stopped Jingyi, who wanted to pour water, then took out a scroll from his arms and handed it to him. Just now, a ninja from the village came to the camp and said that he was sent this scroll to you on the order of Princess Tsunade. An ordinary sealing scroll, the scroll contains various things bought by Tsunade. The person who bought the things was Tsunade, but the person who paid was Kushina. After learning that Jingyi was transferred to the border camp and would not be able to return to the village for at least a year, Kushina became depressed. Because her only friend left her like this and would not be able to come back for at least a whole year. As for the little yellow-haired guy, he was only half a friend. So Kushina and Tsunade discussed it, bought a bunch of things, threw them into the sealed scroll, and sent someone to deliver it to Jingyi. Captain, thank you for your trouble. Putting the scroll away, Jingyi smiled and thanked Xiao Honda. Xiao Honda waved his hand quickly. Don't say thank you. As the captain of the camp, it is my duty to take care of my teammates and companions. I will be on duty later, so I won't disturb your rest. After sending Xiao Honda away, Jingyi opened the scroll, scanned the scroll with his perception, and then froze. Did they move the vegetable market here? Who bought it? Tsunade. No, Tsunade is just a poor fool. There is only one person who has a lot of money and buys things for him without caring about the cost, the rich little woman Kushina. It's hard to repay the favor of the rich little woman. Tsunade hasn't sorted it out yet. Jingyi scratched his head and began to have a headache. As a man, he certainly doesn't mind having more girlfriends or more women, but if the targets are Kushina and Tsunade. Hiss, something big will happen. Both of them are hot-tempered, both want to be strong, and both belong to the kind of combat power that explodes. Now Tsunade is strong and Kushina is weak. When Kushina becomes the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and grows up, her strength will surpass Tsunade. When Jingyi thought of the scene of the two sisters fighting, his scalp was a little numb. Forget it, let's talk about the future later. At least I don't need to worry about this kind of thing now. Jingyi picked out some vegetables and a piece of beef and prepared to have a good meal. The conditions in the camp were really average. If you want to eat good food, there is basically no hope. At most, you can go out hunting and eat some barbecue. Forget about the rest. Captain Mishima, can you do me a favor? You say. Sarutobi Mishima walked into the medical room. Jingyi pointed to the open space next to the medical room. Captain Mishima, please bring a few people to help me shovel the ice and snow here, and then make a box with ice cubes. The box should be bigger. Vegetables can still be placed indoors. Eat the ones that are easy to spoil first. Meat must be processed well. Make some bacon and air-dried meat, and freeze the rest in a natural refrigerator. Okay. Although he didn't understand why Jingyi wanted to make an ice box, Sarutobi Mishima didn't refuse him. He called a group of people over, and a group of people started to work. Fortunately, Jingyi would not let them work in vain, and directly stewed a large pot of beef and potatoes, which was enough. Jingyi, it's already dug, what do you want to use this thing for? Freeze some meat, otherwise it will go bad if there is too much. When Jingyi took out piece after piece of meat from the seal scroll and threw it into the natural refrigerator, the surrounding ninjas were dumbfounded. This is too arrogant. Will we have no shortage of meat to eat in the future? A ninja muttered to himself. Sarutobi Mishima slapped him in anger. This is bought by Tsunadeheim for Jingyi, not for the camp. Want to eat it? Ask your wife to buy it for you. Throw all the meat that needs to be frozen into the natural refrigerator, cover it with ice, and it's done. Wow, delicious. Are you going to dig ice cubes tomorrow? I promise to come as soon as possible. Ha ha ha, I'll come too. Count me in. A group of people were eating hot beef and potatoes, still thinking about tomorrow's meals, which made Jingyi laugh. The two of them were so busy that they had to work together. Jingyi would not take such a joke seriously, and of course, he would not be foolish enough to agree to it. It was not that he was stingy, but it was more troublesome to cook for too many people. And he couldn't always use Kushina's small treasury to subsidize the village's ninjas, right? The new year was here, and the ninjas in the camp used limited resources to hold a party to celebrate the new year, but Jingyi did not join in the fun. Plop, plop, lying on the bed, Jingyi silently felt the fetal movement of the Samsara Eye. Konoha, Senju's old house. What's wrong, girl? Are you unhappy? Uzumaki Mito rubbed Kushina's long red hair. Kushina forced a smile. No, I'm very happy, Grandma. Ah, Uzumaki Mito sighed and held Kushina's hand tightly. Feeling wronged, Kushina whispered. Grandma, I'm not happy. I thought I could spend a lively new year with Jingyi. He is my only friend, but I didn't expect him to go directly to the border camp. I heard from Sister Tsunade that the weather over there is very bad. I don't know if he is doing well. He should miss me. Quote. What should I say? Uzumaki Mito opened his mouth several times but couldn't say a word of comfort. He could only accompany Kushina quietly. As for Tsunade and Naoki, Naoki ran to play with his classmates, and Tsunade was called to a meeting. It was a meeting on New Year's Eve. It was not that the third Hokage liked to torment people, but he had to hold an important meeting. In the conference room on the first floor of the Hokage office building, a major meeting was held here. Except for the third Hokage, 2 representatives of the elders, representatives of the senior ninja class, and other people who were qualified to participate in the meeting, almost all the people in the dojo were present. Except for those who went out on missions and did not return to the village, and the unlucky Danzo Shimura, the rest of the people were basically present. The third Hokage held a pipe in his mouth and smoked boredly. As the Hokage, he gave a speech. Today is New Year's Eve. Everyone should spend a good New Year with their families at home, and so should I, but the enemy will obviously not let us have a lively and stable New Year. Since last year, the ninjas of the Sand Village have frequently entered the river country and constantly provoked the village. They violated the peace regulations signed by the 5 major ninja villages. The First Ninja World War broke the peaceful ninja world created by Hashirama Senju and tore the peace document signed by Hashirama Senju into pieces. With the end of the First Ninja World War, the villages began to sit down for peace talks and re-signed the peace document. As time went by, the strength of each village gradually recovered. Some villages began to show their ambitions, showing their fangs to their neighbors and frequently launching provocations. The small country sandwiched between the big ninja villages, its existence significance is to become a buffer zone between the 2 big countries, reduce friction and contradictions between the big countries, and thus reduce the probability of war. Once one party sends people into the small country as a buffer zone in a high-profile manner, it will be regarded as a provocation by the other party. At this moment, the Sand Village is provoking Konoha. It's just the Sand Village, the Rain Village is not stable either. Under the leadership of the demigod Hanzo of the Salamander, the strength of the Rain Village is growing day by day. Like Shimura Danzo, Hanzo of the Salamander is also an ambitious person. His ambition is to lead the Rain Village to thrive, become stronger and stronger, and then obtain the qualification to sit on an equal footing with the 5 major ninja villages. Let himself be crowned with the honorific title of Shadow. He doesn't want to hear others call him the leader of the Rain Village, he wants to be the Rain Shadow. Taking a deep puff of the cigarette and blowing out a lot of smoke from his mouth, the third Hokage continued. In addition to the Sand Village, the Rain Village, led by Hanzo, has also frequently tested the bottom line of the village. This demigod is an ambitious leader. Compared to the Rain Village, the village should pay more attention to the Sand Village. Udatain Kaharu took over the words of the third Hokage. The Rain Village is strong, but it is only strong among small countries. Even with the demigod Hanzo, it cannot threaten the village, so the focus of our village's defense should be the Sand Village. Hanzo is very powerful. Without sufficient strength, he dare not call himself a demigod, but it is useless to be strong alone. Unless you can become the second Hashirama Senju or the second Uchiha Madara, you can't deter others at all. The powerful Hanzo leads the Rain Village, which can only threaten other small countries and villages, and cannot threaten the 5. The status of the big ninja village. Because the 2 sides are not on the same level in terms of size. It is useless for one person to be strong, let alone the Rain Village, even if it is placed in the 5 major ninja villages. The former Senju Tobarama was strong enough, Konoha was not weak either, and the combination of the 2 still could not deter those ambitious people. Brother Jinyin said to launch a coup and launch a coup, and said to launch a war and launch a war, who cares about you Senju Tobarama? If it were Senju Hashirama, Brother Jinyin would definitely lie down obediently, but you Senju Tobarama are nothing. By the same token, among the leaders of the 5 major ninja villages, the 3rd generation Raikage can be said to be the most terrifying and difficult one, and the overall strength of the Cloud Village is not weak, so the question is, can the Cloud Village suppress the other villages? Let alone suppressing everything, a Great Wildwood and a Rock Village are enough to give the Cloud Village a headache. So no matter how much the Rain Village jumps, it is just a clown. Only the Sand Village is worthy of Konoha's attention. It is right to pay attention to the sand village, but the question is how to pay attention to it. It is not possible to send people to the river country to provoke the other party immediately after being provoked by the sand village. Everyone looked at the third Hokage, wanting to know how their Hokage-sama views this issue. The village cannot passively defend. Since the enemy has already taken action, we should also move. Being passive will only make the opponent worse. The third Hokage's words basically mean that Konoha will fight back. As for how to fight back, it still needs to be discussed. Hokage-sama, rashly sending people to the river country is not the best choice. As the Hokage's strategist and the squad leader of the Junin class, Nara Shikako put forward his own suggestions. The enemy is provoking us, we should fight back, but we should start from other aspects, instead of learning from the sand village and invading the river country. Nara Shikako's words attracted everyone's attention. The third Hokage hesitated and said, "Lu Xun, do you mean the rain country?" The third Hokage's ability to sit firmly on the throne of Hokage is beyond doubt, and his political sense is also sensitive. Isn't the sand village provoking? The rain village is also not stable. Why not send people into the rain country to stimulate the nerves of the sand village and let the sand village focus on the rain country? With the invasion of Konoha and the sand village, the development of the rain village and the ambition of Hanzo of the salamander can also be suppressed. I think Lu Xun's idea is very good. Since he responded to the provocation of the sand village, he can also suppress the development and ambition of the rain village. As expected of the person with the smartest brain, he can connect the rain village and the sand village with a few words. Many people in the meeting room whispered. Tsunade, with her arms crossed, frowned as she listened. Everyone, Senior Lu Xun's proposal is very good. If nothing goes wrong, it can divert the attention of the sand village to the rain country. With the entry of the village and the sand village, the development of the rain village will definitely be affected. So have you thought about the reaction of the rock village? Why did the sand village provoke Konoha in the river country instead of going to the rain village? Is the sand village afraid of the rain village and the salamander Hanzo? No, it's just that the sand village or the third cage doesn't want to provoke two powerful enemies at once. Provoking in the river country only provokes Konoha, and provoking in the rain country will not only make Konoha nervous, but also the nerves of the rock village will be stimulated. After all, the rain country borders the fire country, the wind country, and the earth country at the same time. Once one party is active here, it is equivalent to provoking two powerful opponents. Don't formulate a strategy against the sand village and the rain village, and end up dragging the rock village in. The situation is getting worse, and the situation is getting worse. Tsunade slapped the table and said loudly, "The land of rain has a special geographical environment. It borders the land of fire, the land of wind, and the land of earth. Once we send people into the land of rain, we will provoke the sand village and also stimulate the nerves of the land of earth. Will Onoki sit back and do nothing? Do you have anything to say about this, Lu Xun?" The third Hokage glanced at Nara Lu Xun. Nara Shikishin stood up with a smile and said calmly, "Tsunade-sama, if the village sends people into the land of rain, it will indeed provoke the nerves of the sand village, the rain village, and even the rock village, but we also need to consider the enemies of the rock village. In the past 2 years, the cloud village has frequently harassed and attacked the border of the land of earth, and many small-scale conflicts have broken out between the rock village and the cloud village. I think everyone should understand what I mean. Even if the rock village is eventually involved, the enemy we need to face should be the sand village, not the rock village." Dare to propose such a plan, Nara Shikishin also considered the existence of the rock village. Fortunately, the contradictions and frictions between the rock village and the cloud village in recent years are not small, which gives Konoha an opportunity. However, such a plan is somewhat risky. It is good that the rock village did not participate on a large scale. Once the rock village sends a large number of ninjas to participate in the war, Konoha may be besieged. I hope so. Since Nara Shikishin has considered these, Tsunade, who originally did not like to care about these things, simply stopped talking. This was just a targeted meeting, not a combat meeting, because Konoha had no intention of going to war with the sand village. At least not now. After the meeting, the content of the meeting was sent directly to Shimura Danzo. Shimura Danzo, who was thinking about how to persuade the salamander Hanzo, knew that his chance had come. As time passed, the camp was still the same, and the new year did not bring any changes to the camp. Jingyi, who was still waiting for the end of the Samsara Eye movement, did not know that the fuse of the Second Ninja World War was about to begin. In the Naruto anime and Naruto manga, there is not much information about the Second Ninja World War, but it is simply explained that it was caused by the uneven economic development of various countries and villages. Then the war like a big fight broke out. The land of rain became a battlefield. Konoha fought with Sand Village, Iwagakure fought with Konoha, Sand Village fought with Iwagakure, and then Hanzo the Salamander led the Rain Village to declare war on Konoha, Sand Village, and Iwagakure, exacerbating the situation of this war. The three major ninja villages fought each other and fought with the Rain Village. The whole land of Rain was in a mess. Several guests with special identities came to the Rain Village and were received by Hanzo the Salamander. In the spacious office, only Danzo Shimura and Hanzo the Salamander sat together. I don't know why the Hokage assistant came to my Rain Village. Danzo Shimura was demoted to the bottom because he offended Uzumaki Mito. After all, this kind of thing is not glorious. Only a few people in Konoha knew about it, and it was not publicized to the outside world. Therefore, Hanzo the Salamander did not know that Danzo Shimura, who was sitting in front of him, was no longer the Hokage assistant. We came here for a deal that is beneficial to both Rain Village and Konoha. Shimura Danzo said lightly. What deal? Hanzo Salamander frowned. He was not someone who would let others manipulate him, even if Shimura Danzo represented Konoha. Under his leadership, Rain Village was much more active than before, and it snatched some of Konoha's interests openly and secretly. But it was not a feud with Konoha, because this little bit of interest was not worth the two villages going to war. Shimura Danzo said calmly. Sand Village frequently sent people into river country to provoke Konoha, and the village held a meeting for this. During the meeting, someone mentioned Rain Village, thinking that the strength of Rain Village has become a threat, so they want to persuade the Hokage to send people into Rain Country to attract the attention of Sand Village and Rock Village. What? Hanzo Salamander's face changed drastically, and he stood up angrily. Who suggested this? Isn't this putting Rain Village on the fire? If Konoha sends people into Rain Country, Sand Village will definitely follow. Once Sand Village also follows, Rock Village will not pretend not to see it. The friction between the three villages may trigger a war at any time. At that time, Rain Country will become a battlefield for Konoha, Sand Village, and Rock Village. It doesn't matter who suggested it. What matters is that Rain Country is a place where Konoha, Sand Village, and Rock Village are in a state of chaos. In the eyes of the five major ninja villages, the ninja village has already become a threat. Quote. What does this guy mean? After the initial panic, Hanzo calmed down quickly. He didn't believe that he would come here to see him for no reason, and share such important information. There must be a purpose, and even a big plot. Then the question is there anything in the Rain Village or even the Rain Country that is worth the attention of this Hokage assistant? Danzo, tell me your purpose. Hanzo, who calmed down, sat back in his chair and poured himself a glass of water. Help me kill someone, and I will do my best to oppose the proposal to send people into the Rain Country in the village. Shimura Danzo didn't want to play suspicion with Hanzo, and told his purpose at once. Murder. Quote. Hanzo Salamander instantly became alert and stared at Danzo Shimura with scrutiny. Danzo, you came from afar and brought the information needed by the village. I am very grateful to you, but I and the Rain Village will not intervene in the internal conflicts of Konoha. Is the information brought by Danzo Shimura important? It is important, otherwise Hanzo Salamander would not say I am grateful to you. But Hanzo Salamander would not accept the other party's proposal. If Danzo Shimura can throw such a bait to attract him, then the person Danzo Shimura wants to kill must be not simple, maybe it is a high-level person in Konoha. Once he does it, it means declaring war on Konoha, and the Rain Village cannot bear the anger of Konoha. Hinata Shizuka, this is your target. The other party is just a medical ninja, and his strength is not strong, but he is highly valued by Mito-sama, so I can't take action. Quote. Quote question mark question mark question mark. Quote. He is not a high-ranking official of Konoha, but just a small medical ninja. However, he is valued by the big boss Uzumaki Mito. Hanzo of the Salamander was a little confused about what Shimura Danzo wanted to do. The medical ninja is not strong. With Shimura Danzo's strength and means, he should be able to kill the other party easily. Why would he ask me for help? Is this a trap? Wait, Hyuga, the person that Shimura Danzo wants to kill is from the Hyuga clan. Here is the information. I will leave one person to wait for the news. After the matter is accomplished, I will try my best to persuade other people to prevent the village from sending people into the land of rain. In addition, this matter was your own behavior from beginning to end. It has nothing to do with me, and I will not recognize today's transaction. Quote. Leaving behind Jingyi's information, Shimura Danzo got up and left. If the village had not held a meeting against the Sand Village, it would have been difficult for him to convince Salamander Hanzo. But now it is different. The initiative is in his hands. For the sake of the Rain Village and the Land of Rain, Salamander Hanzo has to agree. Danzo, I haven't agreed to you yet. The two of them were very busy, and the two of them were very busy. Shimura Danzo left the information and left, and he also took away all the dirt. Hanzo was so angry that his nose was crooked. Who the hell do you take me for? Am I Hanzo your subordinate? But Shimura Danzo had no intention of turning back, and he still walked outside, but his speed was not fast. You have no right to refuse, unless you are willing to watch the Rain Country become a battlefield and the people of the Rain Country suffer from the harm of the war. In addition, you don't have much time, and I hope to receive good news from you. Hanzo wanted to hack Shimura Danzo to death or poison him, but he didn't dare to do it. Shimura Danzo dared to come to the Rain Village to meet him, so he had his own confidence, and the other party made it very clear that he had no choice. Unless he, Hanzo, could watch the country become a battlefield and watch the people of the Rain Country being hurt by the war. Leader, should we take him down? Get out, the exasperated Hanzo yelled at his subordinates. This was a conspiracy, and also an open conspiracy. As Shimura Danzo said, he had no right to choose. Because he would face enemies like the Sand Village, the Rock Village, and Konoha. Being located between the three major ninja villages, the Rain Village had no choice. Danzo, limited information, plus a verbal promise, forced Hanzo to lose face. After a while, Hanzo calmed down and picked up the information on the table and looked at it carefully. Bloodstain disease. In the ninja world, blood disease is not a rare disease. Ninja families with bloodline limits have this disease to a certain extent, whether it is Uchiha or Hyuga, including ninja families outside Konoha. Is a small medical ninja worth Shimura Danzo's fuss? Hanzo of the Salamander does not believe that things will be so simple. If it is really that simple, Shimura Danzo will take action himself. As for why he can't take action easily, that's all nonsense. This old guy is worried, so he dare not take action, so he went to him. It is too difficult to spy on the information, and Shimura Danzo has no intention of explaining it. If he really lost his position because of warning Jingyi, and was also happy, I am afraid that Hanzo of the Salamander would laugh to death. Killing people, or watching the village and the country become battlefields and become victims of the great powers. What made Hanzo the most angry was that Danzo Shimura only gave him a verbal promise. Whether the assassination was successful or not was his own business and had nothing to do with Danzo Shimura. Others would not admit to having seen him, let alone such a thing. It was not pleasant to be manipulated by others. Before the dream of being on equal footing with the Five Cage came true, the Land of Rain would be reduced to a battlefield first. Hanzo the Salamander could not accept this result. Danzo, you'd better keep your word, otherwise. At night, the puppet crow flew into the camp and landed on the window of the medical room. Jingyi opened the window, let the puppet fly in, untied the intelligence scroll on the puppet's feet, opened the scroll, controlled the puppet, and used the puppet's vision to see the contents of the scroll. That's right, Jingyi, who was blindfolded, could see things through the puppet's vision. The intelligence scroll was sent by Tsunade, and the puppet crow became a tool bird for her and Tsunade to pass on intelligence and letters. Emergency meeting. Why did the Sand Village provoke Konoha at this time? Is the Second Ninja World War about to begin? No, the time is wrong. According to the time in the original work, there are at least 3 to 4 years before the outbreak of the Second Ninja World War. After all, war cannot break out at any time. It involves too much. So where did the Sand Village's provocation come from? Are they so eager to take a piece of fat from the Fire Country? The wind country is too poor. The fire country is rich in resources and too rich. This led to the fact that in the same period of time, Konoha developed much faster than the sand village, and even was left behind so much that it couldn't even see the rear lights. Since the establishment of the ninja village, the sand village has always been thinking about taking a piece of meat from the fire country. The gradually strong military force made some people in the sand village think about it, such as the third Cage and the Chio siblings. These people are all hardliners and warmongers in the sand village. Tisk, as expected, people who play with their brains have impure hearts. Seeing Nara, Shikako suggested transferring the fire to the rain. This is a vicious plot, responding to the provocation of the sand village, and also suppressing the development of the rain village in disguise, smashing the dream of Hanzo of the salamander to become the rain shadow with one hammer, so that he can weigh the power of the rain village. As for the rock village, if the three major ninja villages are really angry and play a big fight in the rain country, Konoha will not be particularly disadvantaged. It is impossible for the sand village and the rock village to reach a cooperation to besiege Konoha all at once. In addition, there is a rain village with neither strength in the rain country, which will only make the water more muddy. Wait, the village is going to send people into the rain country to attract the attention of the sand village to respond to the provocation of the sand village. Konoha's operation was very timely and critical to the village, and critical to Shimura Danzo. Given Shimura Danzo's personality, he might use this matter to control Hanzo of the salamander. And the demigod Hanzo of the salamander seems to have been tricked by Danzo Shimura many times. Danzo Shimura knows how to control a demigod. Jingyi doesn't believe that Danzo Shimura will let go of such a good opportunity, unless he doesn't want to attack him. Otherwise, without the help of the village and without showing up, Hanzo of the salamander is a very sharp knife. The most important thing is that it is easy to use. After using it, he can just pat his butt and leave directly without admitting responsibility. Don't ask. Asking is slander. All this has nothing to do with me. You really know how to pick the time. After destroying the scroll sent by Tsunade, Jingyi felt that he needed to make some preparations, because he was not sure whether Danzo Shimura had persuaded Hanzo of the salamander. If Hanzo of the salamander was persuaded, it was impossible to predict when he would take action. The camp was very close to the land of rain. With Hanzo of the salamander's strength, he could run to the camp for a stroll at any time. This demigod's instant body movement and physical skills are terrifyingly strong, and what's even more terrifying is that even he needs to be on guard against poison. To be frank, if Hanzo of the salamander were to walk around the camp, he could easily poison a group of people. The sand village's provocation and the village's plan indirectly helped Danzo Shimura a lot, giving him the opportunity to easily control Hanzo of the salamander. Shimura Danzo is definitely not a trustworthy person, but Hanzo has no choice. Just as Danzo said, you don't have the right to choose, you can only trust me and believe that I will help you lobby. Danzo, you like to manipulate others, right? Jingyi took out a scroll, tied it to the feet of the puppet crow, and controlled the puppet to fly towards the direction of Rain Village. Want to use Hanzo's hand to get rid of me and get rid of yourself? No way. Jingyi is sure that Hanzo doesn't know that Shimura Danzo was fired. Only Shimura Danzo, who is the assistant of the Hokage, can help lobby and help the Rain Village. If Shimura Danzo lost his position as the Hokage's assistant and became a conspirator who hid at home to rest, would Hanzo of the salamander still listen to him? The puppet crow flew to the Rain Village, found the building where the Rain Village leader worked, aimed at one of the ninjas on guard and threw the scroll down, then turned and flew away. What is that? Noticing something falling from the sky, the ninja on duty subconsciously grabbed the scroll that fell from the sky, and looked around in confusion. It was raining in the dark night sky and nothing could be seen. Scroll, who sent it? Is someone staring at me? The Rain Village ninja on duty was startled, checked again and again, and after making sure that there was no one, he hid in a place where the rain could not get in and opened the scroll. He opened the scroll, just glanced at the contents inside. His face changed instantly, and he quickly put away the scroll and rushed to Hanzo of the salamander's office. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. Hanzo's tone was not good, because he was still struggling whether to agree to the deal with Shimura Danzo. Chief, someone sent an intelligence scroll. The ninja on duty brought the scroll up. Hanzo picked up the scroll and asked, who sent it? Sneak into the village so recklessly. Will he take himself too seriously and not take me, Hanzo, seriously? I don't know. The ninja on duty shrank his neck, fearing that he would be blamed or punished by the leader. Okay, go down. Hanzo was inevitably disappointed. Compared with the 5 major ninja villages, the ninjas of the Rain Village were still a little unreliable. Apart from himself, there were not many ninjas who could stand on their own. After all, the Rain country is so big, and there are so many people who can become ninjas. You can't pick and choose. As long as you can extract chakra, you can be trained. Although the number of ninjas has increased, the quality is not so good. It is unique among many small countries and villages. If compared with the 5 major ninja villages, it is not up to par. Waving his hand to let the ninjas on duty withdraw, Hanzo opened the scroll and read it. Ha, ha. After glancing at the scroll, Hanzo, who was wearing a respirator, widened his eyes. The position of Shimura Danzo's assistant to the Hokage was taken away. Then this guy came to me and manipulated me. I was fooled. Shimura Danzo was just trying to get something for nothing and manipulate him with a little intelligence. Lobbying and trading were all nonsense, because Shimura Danzo was not qualified at this time. Danzo, you dare to play tricks on me. When I thought about how I had been struggling for 2 days, I was worried about the outbreak of war in the Rain country and Konoha dragging the Rain village into the water. In the end, I was just asking for trouble. So who sent this scroll? It couldn't be Hyuga Shizuka who Shimura Danzo wanted to kill. Come here, take down the people left by Danzo, take them down to interrogate the information, and then send the information over. No matter who sent the information scroll, Hanzo of the Salamander had already become suspicious, and he would not easily believe Danzo of Shimura again. As for whether what the other party said was true or false, it would be enough to interrogate the ninja left by Shimura Danzo. Even if the ninja left by Shimura Danzo was a dead man, Hanzo of the Salamander could still get the information. In the ninja world, there are too many ways to dig out information from corpses. Each village has corresponding means. It can only be said that some are strong and some are average. 2 hours later, a document was delivered to Hanzo of the Salamander. Shimura Danzo. After reading the document, Hanzo was furious. The information in this scroll sent from nowhere was true. Shimura Danzo's position as Hokage's assistant was taken away, and he is currently staying in the family to rest. No, the slightest right. Hanzo's face gradually turned red with the breathing mask on. Danzo, I'm still wondering why you can't even kill a small medical ninja. It turns out that you are plotting against me, trying to get something for nothing. Good, very good. Send this information and the body to the Konoha camp and hand them over to the people of Konoha. I want to see how Sarutobi Hiruzen will deal with Shimura Danzo. Assassinating the ninja of his own village, asking outside forces to take action, and leaking the village's information. Once several charges are confirmed, it will definitely be enough for Shimura Danzo to enjoy. Yes, leader. Wait, I'll send it over myself. Shimura Danzo, if you are unkind, don't blame me for being unjust. You were the one who played me like a monkey first. Thinking that he was like a monkey, being manipulated in various ways, Hanzo wished to kill Shimura Danzo. The next morning, the ninja on duty in the camp sounded the alarm. The ninjas in the entire camp became nervous. Because the leader of the Rain village, the so-called demigod, Hanzo of the Salamander, came uninvited and brought a corpse with him. The reputation of the demigod is very loud in the ninja world. As the captain of the camp, Honda stood up and negotiated with the other party. It was also fortunate that Hanzo of the Salamander came in a swaggering manner, and did not look like he was going to attack the camp, otherwise it would not be a negotiation, but a battle. Jingyi, Hanzo of the Rain village, the leader of the Salamander, is here, and he brought a corpse. The captain went to negotiate, and there may be a war. As the person who protected Jingyi, Sarutobi Mishima went directly to the medical room. Hanzo of the Salamander is here. As the leader of a village, going to other countries without any notice will cause misunderstandings. Even if you have no ill intentions. Could it be that the intelligence sent yesterday worked? Jingyi guessed the purpose of Hanzo of the Salamander's arrival. Excuse me, why did the demigod enter the land of fire? Little Honda still respected Hanzo of the Salamander. After all, he was the leader of a village and a well-known strong man in the ninja world. He had to give him the respect he deserved. Hanzo of the Salamander threw the body in his hand at the entrance of the camp. A few days ago, Danzo Shimura came to the Rain Village and traded with me for a lot of Konoha's intelligence, hoping that I could kill a medical ninja named Hyuga Shizuichi. I refused him. This is the person he left behind. I hope you can tell the Hokage about this as soon as possible and tell him that I have no intention of being an enemy of Konoha. What? Little Honda jumped up high. The body was a ninja of Konoha. Wait, this is not the point. The point is that Shimura Danzo leaked the village information and made a deal with Hanzo, hoping that the other party would kill Jingyi. Hiss. This matter is a bit serious. Is everything you said true? Hanzo looked at Honda coldly. I don't want to lie. This person offended me in the village, so he was arrested. Here is the information of the interrogation. Send it to the Hokage. Tell him that if he wants to respond to the provocation of the Sand Village, don't involve the Rain Village. I don't want to be an enemy of Konoha, but I'm not made of mud. You're playing me like a monkey, right? Then don't blame me for throwing dirty water on you. Anyway, you, Shimura Danzo, did leak a lot of information about Konoha. I'll add some water to it. You must also bear this black pot. Something big happened. After leaving the body behind and saying what he wanted to say, Hanzo of the Salamander evacuated decisively. Little Honda was in a panic. Why did Danzo assassinate Shizuichi? I don't know. Did Shizuichi offend him? Whether there is a conflict or not, you shouldn't do this. What's worse is that you leaked the village's information and asked others to do it. No matter what conflicts and contradictions Shizuichi and Shimura Danzo had, it was wrong for Shimura Danzo to attack him and assassinate him. It was even worse to leak the village's information as a deal and ask outsiders to do it. Little Honda rushed to the medical department and told the story of what happened. He was very anxious. What should I do? What should I do now? What should I do? Of course, it's cold. Sarutobi Mishima covered his face in pain. Danzo, how dare you? It's fine to hire someone to assassinate, but you did it so crudely. Now, others have sold you out, you're done. Sarutobi Mishima is sure that as long as the news gets back to the village, Shimura Danzo will definitely be finished. Demigod is also a person with personality. Danzo, you didn't expect it. Ha ha ha. If Honda and Sarutobi Mishima were not still here, Jingyi would want to laugh for a while. I'll go there myself. The matter is a bit serious. Honda and Sarutobi Mishima can't handle it, so they can only return to the village as soon as possible and ask the third Hokage to make the decision. I hope the Hokage will not be angry to death. Ha ha ha. After Honda and Sarutobi Mishima left, there was a burst of laughter in the medical room. The ninjas in the camp looked at each other in bewilderment. Although they could understand Jingyi's feelings, wouldn't it be bad to laugh so blatantly? Shimura Danzo had hit himself on the instep with this move. Even if he would not be severely punished for his past merits, the third Hokage would not let him go easily. In a short period of time, Shimura Danzo had no capital to jump around. When he could start jumping around, Jingyi would easily crush him to death, just like crushing a small stink bug. The matter was of great importance. Sarutobi Mishima first used the ninja eagle used in the camp to transmit intelligence to send the message back first, to give the third Hokage a shot of prevention, and he carried the body to the village himself. Running back to the village from the border camp, coupled with the thick snow in winter, would affect the speed of travel. It would take at least 2 days for Sarutobi Mishima to return to the village. On the contrary, the ninja eagle flying directly in the sky could fly to Konoha in just 3 or 4 hours. Hokage-sama, this is a scroll sent by the intelligence department, from the border camp of the Land of Rain. Hanzo of the Salamander arrived at the camp early in the morning, and Sarutobi Mishima also sent the news quickly, so when the intelligence scroll arrived in Konoha, the third Hokage had just finished lunch. Put it on the table. The third Hokage, who was flipping through the documents, said without raising his head, and continued to read the documents in his hand. As for the scroll, he would need to wait. After carefully reading the documents in his hand, thinking for a moment, reviewing them, and stamping the Hokage seal, the third Hokage put the documents away and picked up the scroll beside him. Using the exclusive password to open the scroll, the third Hokage looked at the scroll, picked up the pipe on the table with both hands, put the pipe in his mouth, and started to light it. Puff, cough cough. Just after lighting the cigarette and taking a puff, the third Hokage's eyes widened and he stood up in shock, not only pushing the chair under his buttocks down, but also choking on the smoke he just inhaled into his lungs. How could it be? This is impossible. At this time, the third Hokage could not care about. He smoked, threw his pipe aside as quickly as possible, and grabbed the scroll and brought it close to his face. Is this scroll serious? Did Danzo actually leak the village information to make a deal with Hanzo of the Salamander and ask him to assassinate Shizui? In the end, he was sold out. The third Hokage felt dizzy after reading it for the first time. It was unbelievable the second time. When he read it for the third time, anger was all over his face. Danzo. The third Hokage was so angry that he trembled all over. He threw the scroll hard on the table. The Anbu ninja standing guard outside the door was startled. He could acquiesce to Shimura Danzo's hand on Shizui. As long as Shimura Danzo didn't use the power of the village and didn't drag him into the water, he would pretend not to see it. After all, Shimura Danzo helped him take a lot of blame and made a lot of contributions. He still had a place to use Shimura Danzo. So he had to give him a little sweetness. But the third Hokage couldn't believe it even in his dreams. Shimura Danzo was so bold that he actually used the village's intelligence to trade. What's the difference between this and betrayal? The village was holding an important meeting just now, and then you, Shimura Danzo, used the intelligence to trade. Where's your face? Go and call Danzo to me immediately. Oh, and Kaharu and the others, and the fat guy Akamichi Tofu, call them all over. Hurry up. Hanzo of the Salamander went to the camp to negotiate in person. He said this matter in public, and it was impossible to hide it. Once the news started to spread, the effect would definitely be explosive. If it was not handled well, their high-level groups would be affected. Lord Hokage was very angry. The people in the Anbu didn't know what happened. Knowing that the third Hokage was in a state of anger, they could only go and ask for help. Monkey, why did you call me here again? I didn't mean to say. After being called here without knowing why, Akamichi Norifu was about to make a joke, but before he could finish his words, he saw the gloomy face of the third Hokage, so he chose to shut up decisively and sat on the floor waiting for others to arrive. Akamichi Norifu, who looked serious on the surface, was secretly thinking about what could make the third Hokage so angry. It seems that things are not simple. Soon, Udatain Kaharu and Mito Minen also came. The two walked into the Hokage's office, noticed the third Hokage's face, and looked at Akamichi Norifu. Akamichi Norifu gave the two a look that I don't know, and then sat down calmly. He decided not to get involved in this matter today. The three of them were very happy. In the future, I will not interfere with the affairs of the village, give Lu Xun more opportunities, try to push Inoshikacho up, and stay at home to live in old age. Hiruzen, Tatsune Kaharu called out tentatively, but the third Hokage said nothing. Oh no, it seems that the situation is a bit serious. The third Hokage will only be like this when he is particularly angry. He will ignore everyone and only speak when he wants to speak after everyone is gathered. Wait, the three exchanged glances and sat down. Hokage-sama. At this time, the Anbu ninja who went to inform Shimura Danzo came back. Where is Danzo? Asked the third Hokage. The Anbu ninja said awkwardly. Danzo said he was not feeling well, so. Bang. The words, not feeling well, were very harsh to the third Hokage. He slammed the table hard in anger, and everyone in the office was stunned. Is this still the Sarutobi Hiruzen we know? Are you sure it's not Tsunade in disguise? You go down first. Udatain Kaharu stood up and asked the Anbu ninja to go down. After the other party left, he said to the third Hokage. Hiruzen, what did Danzo do to make you so angry? What? The third Hokage laughed out loud. It's almost out of control, do you know? He assassinated a ninja from the same village, took the village information to trade with Hanzo, asked Hanzo to kill Hyuga Shizuka, but was sold out by Hanzo, and others ran to the border camp and revealed this in front of dozens of ninjas. What do you think he did? Quote. Assassinating a ninja from the same village and leaking the village's information, such crimes can be big or small. To put it lightly, you can get away with a vague explanation. Once it is magnified, you will definitely be in trouble. If these things were revealed through other channels, it would be fine, and the third Hokage could still accept it. But it was Hanzo who came to the door and said it in front of dozens of Konoha ninjas. The ninjas who rotated at the border were originally reluctant and unwilling to stay there for a long time. As a result, the news of Shimura Danzo broke out, which made many people feel chilled. We left our families and went to the border camp to guard in the heavy snow and freezing rain. We patrolled and stood guard all day long, and we had to guard against our own people because we might be assassinated by our own people. Who the hell can stand this kind of thing? Although they were not the ones who were assassinated, they were stationed in the same camp and were all people in the same camp. If they put themselves in the same camp, everyone would feel chilled. Numb, completely numb. Akamichi Tofu helplessly covered his forehead, while Utane Kaharu and Mito Manen had dull eyes and could not believe what they heard. Is Shimura Danzo crazy? Assassinating ninjas from the same village, or asking outsiders to do it, it would make people alienated. Ordinary people would be fine, but is Hinata Shizuka an ordinary person? I can't imagine how Tsunade and Uzumaki Mito would react after hearing the news. Hiruzen, we must control Danzo. If possible, a gag order needs to be signed at the border camp. Udatane Kaharu was anxious. The third Hokage said with a headache, "Do you think it is possible to sign a gag order? Do you think Uzumaki Mito is a decoration? Tsunade can turn the Hokage office building upside down. Alas, I didn't expect Danzo to do such a crazy thing. We must give an explanation to the villagers about this matter." At the critical moment, the third Hokage abandoned Shimura Danzo without hesitation. Sarutobi Hiruzen can't touch this kind of pot, not at all. He can only throw it all to Shimura Danzo. Mito Minyan nodded seriously and said, "I think Hiruzen is right. This matter was caused by Danzo from the beginning to the end. We must control him and give an explanation to the villagers. Before the news spreads, take down Shimura Danzo as quickly as possible, lock him up, and quickly issue an announcement to make arrangements in advance. This kind of thing can't wait. Once the news spreads and ignites the anger of the villagers, it will be difficult to end. So we must take the initiative to take down Shimura Danzo and correct the attitude of the Hokage's office. Danzo will be handed over to you. I will send someone to issue an announcement." The third Hokage didn't want to see Shimura Danzo at all. Zang. Then the punishment of Danzo. This matter can be big or small, but Shimura Danzo was betrayed too harshly by Hanzo of the Salamander, and the Hokage office must come forward to punish him severely. Otherwise, it will chill the hearts of many people. As for the punishment of Shimura Danzo, Udatane Kaharu and the other two can't figure out the size. Lock him up first. No matter what, Danzo has made many contributions to the village. Although he made a mistake, he should not be punished too harshly. If Shimura Danzo is not punished, it will be difficult to explain to the villagers, and the intensity of the punishment needs to be controlled. After all, Shimura Danzo is still very useful, and the third Hokage cannot directly step on him to death. After a brief discussion, Udatane Kaharu, Mito Kato-en, and Akamichi Tofu third generation brought the Anbu people to find Shimura Danzo. Seeing that the small courtyard where he lived was surrounded by the Anbu people, Shimura Danzo realized that something was wrong. Could it be that Uzumaki Mito was in trouble? Or did Hanzo of the Salamander fail? This stupid demigod can't even kill a medical ninja. Danzo, your crime has been exposed. According to the order of the Hokage, you will be arrested and detained. I hope you can cooperate. Kuharu Udatane and Enmi Mitokado had no intention of speaking. Helplessly, Akamichi Tofu could only stand up and be the villain. Why? Danzo Shimura asked calmly. Akamichi Tofu rubbed his fat face and cursed. You still ask me why? Monkey is almost mad at you. You want to assassinate Hinata Shizuka just because of a little conflict. Don't forget that you are the one who went to trouble others first. It would be fine if you did it yourself, but you actually leaked the village information and made a deal with Hanzo of the Salamander. If Danzo Shimura did it himself, Akamichi Tofu could still say that he admired him. As a result, this guy was unwilling to take action or show up, so he used the village's information to make a deal. Well, he was sold out by Hanzo. Did he fail? No, there were many ninjas in the border camp, but they could not stop Hanzo. Although he looked down on Hanzo, Shimura Danzo had to admit that the opponent was really strong, at least much stronger than him. So the question is, how did it break out? It couldn't be that the cripple Hyuga Shizuichi showed his power and took down Hanzo. Shimura Danzo was sure that Hanzo would be controlled by him. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.